administered. And finally, the government is set to introduce tighter restriction on the sale of vapes. The Irish Examiner reports ads for vapes behind shop counters will be banned, while plain packaging will be introduced. Single-use vapes will also be banned under the proposals being brought forward by Health Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill. Looking now to weather, a cloudy start with a slight chance of some isolated showers in the afternoon, with highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
20 seconds just isn't enough time to tell you all the value you can bag at Maxall, so I better not waste any more time. Bread, cornflakes, bananas, oats, tea, coffee, milk, apples, ham, cheese, rice, pizza, pasta, chopped tomatoes, spaghetti hoops, beans, tuna, rashers, sausages, eggs, bin bags, toilet roll, toothpaste, dog food. See? You'll find bags more at Maxall.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 24th of September 2025, and we've woken up to another bright, fresh, crisp morning here across the northwest of Ireland, and I hope it's the same wherever you are or wherever you happen to be listening to us. It's great to have you on board. Our lines are open for you right now. We've got loads lined up for you, of course. We're going to keep you updated with the very latest news and issues important to you here in the Northwest and across the country and beyond. We also have the lines open for you to comment, as I mentioned, 086 60 25,000. That's WhatsApps and texts, and you can send voice notes to that number as well if that suits you better. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, and if you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. Just to invite you, if you want to watch the show, we're on the YouTube app, so you can watch on your laptop, your phone, but also on your smart TV in your front room or your kitchen or wherever you happen to have that smart TV or your Fire Stick. Just open the YouTube app and type in Highland Radio Ireland, and you can watch the show and all of our guests and everything that unfolds here. And we're across Facebook as well, and on the X platform, which is pretty popular with viewers, surprisingly perhaps. I just didn't think it's a great platform to interact with video on, but obviously others do. It's great to have you on board wherever you are. Let's look at the newspapers. We'll start with the Finn Valley Voice, and Councillor Frank McBurty Jr. has been formally charged with the theft of another councillor's mobile phone at a special meeting of Donegal County Council 3 years ago. There are no other charges. He'll appear at Letterkenny Circuit Court when it commences on October 28th this year. The charges arise out of an alleged incident during a special meeting of Donegal County Council at the Ora Leisure Centre on July 11th, 2022. Councillor McBurty is charged with stealing a Samsung S21 Ultra mobile phone valued at €1,000, the property of Councillor Gary Doherty. He'll be represented by both the senior and junior council at the request of his solicitor. I imagine he denies all charges there. That trial coming up in the not too distant future. Lots of interest, I suppose, at this point as to whether or not Maria Steen will make the ballot paper. I think a lot of people don't necessarily agree with what she might stand for, how she's campaigned in the past, and some of her really quite conservative views, as might be seen sort of in a modern Ireland. But a lot of people perhaps would welcome a wider political spectrum to choose from in a presidential election. Well, the president race is on course to be the narrowest since 1990, as Maria Steen hopes to enter the contest as the fourth candidate, where fading last night, though she did receive a boost this morning. Obviously, these papers went to press some time ago. The Conservative campaigner, as she's described, was making a last-ditch effort to get 3 more Oireachtas members to back her to secure the 20 needed for a nomination before the deadline of noon today. Independent Senator Michael McDougall, who was on the same side as Ms Steen in the family and care referendums, was among those who was holding out despite intense lobbying from the Steen camp. And we'll find out over the course of this programme whether or not her campaign to get onto that ballot was successful or not. I think if she does manage to get onto the ballot, she could do really quite well. I just think she could certainly tap into something with certain elements of the population. The turnout was low last time in the 40s, wasn't it? I think it's not necessarily that those that would have voted anyway might vote for Miss Steen, but I think people might come out and vote for her which might see an increase in the amount of voting. You just wonder, obviously, because there's a certain sort of political angle there at the moment. You know, you've got people on the left, you've got people centre left, etc. And you know, it's much of a muchness for a lot of people out there. Just to be, I think that's the way it is. I think if you chuck her in there, it could make for a very interesting election, and it'll be interesting to see if she manages to get on. We'll find out before the end of this show. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Donald Trump was talking yesterday at the UN General Assembly, as is his way. He throws out a lot of stuff. Some of it's true, some of it's not true, some of it's exaggerating his achievements, some of it's just barefaced lies. A lot of it resonates with a lot of people as well, and people, a lot of what he says, people feel is the truth. But anyway, let's take the Irish Daily Mail's take on his commentary. Donald Trump has told the UN that Europe has been invaded by a force of illegal aliens. In an hour-long address to world leaders, the US president rounded on European policies on immigration, the environment, renewable energy and Palestine. He also hit out at technical glitches in the UN Assembly, remarking, "All I got from the United Nations was a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter." He also turned on the Assembly itself, asking, what is the purpose of the United Nations? All they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter, which does kind of feel true. It's empty words, he said, and empty words don't solve wars. The only thing that solves wars is action. He accused the UN of funding an assault on Western countries and their borders, proclaiming uncontrolled immigration the number one political issue of our time. He told all assembled, you're destroying your countries. Of Europe, Mr. Trump said, they've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is doing anything to change it, to get them out. He called on Western leaders to follow his example and end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now, he said, adding, your countries are going to hell. On what he called the climate change hoax, he said, both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. So strong words, as I say. He throws a lot out there. Some lands, some doesn't. But it'll be interesting to see the reaction to some of those statements. The Irish Times this morning, more than half of our daily household and business waste is burned or sent to landfill. And there's been no improvement in recycling rates for a decade, according to a new report. So between us gathering up plastic bottles are now the new plastic bags. I don't know if you do it in the kitchen, but I mean, you know, there's going to be a black bag somewhere, isn't there? Absolutely wedged with plastic bottles. And if you dare put one of those bottles near a bin, you're getting your head cleaned off, because it has to go into the recycling. So in a way, I suppose that's good. We've got little brown bins, we've got recycle bins, and at the end of the day, it's not really having an impact because we're seeing no increase in recycling. The Environmental Protection Agency said a further 400,000 tonnes of municipal waste must be recycled annually for Ireland to meet its mandatory recycling targets. However, the amount of packaging waste, such as containers, boxes and wrappers, has grown 4 times faster than recycling rates since 2016. The torrent of waste Ireland generates creates challenges not only for its management, but also for meeting obligations under EU regulations. So there you go. Ever ordered anything off Amazon, though? And it's the size of your fist and it comes in a box the size of your house. It's not our fault. You go to the supermarket and there's what feels like unnecessary wrapping that we have to find a way to dispose of. So it's not all our fault. I think some of the problems are how stuff is delivered to us. The Irish Daily Mirror, a mum is highlighting how doctors need to be more aware of symptoms of ovarian cancer after she was told her tumour was trapped wind. Linda Callanan, 53, from Carlow, is now undergoing her 3rd round of chemotherapy. She had to endure a hysterectomy and the cancer spreading to her lymph nodes. Her pain and symptoms were shrugged off by doctors who put it down to constipation and menopause. Speaking to mark the Gynecological Oncology Awareness Day, Linda said, I went to the doctor a couple of times and she didn't say an awful lot. I was saying my stomach was huge and I don't usually have a big stomach. She told me to stand on the weighing scales and said, you are overweight but not obese. I remember lying on my back doing yoga and something popped in my stomach and I was screaming. It was really a weird sensation. I'm a big fan too of... we have to trust ourselves as well, like that lady did there. Sometimes, we're told one thing, go away, it's this, that, or that. And yet in our heart of hearts, we know it's something else. And you just really need to, to drive that home. To the GP. Back to the issue of immigration, and Jim O'Callaghan has been speaking on it, and it's been covered in all the papers today. The Irish Daily Star. The Justice Minister wants to see fewer than 10,000 asylum seekers entering Ireland a year. So he believes the max is 10,000. Jim O'Callaghan, and these, by the way, are asylum seekers, not those that might move here legally from other European countries, or those that might come here on working visas. These are people seeking asylum. Jim O'Callaghan said the numbers are currently too high after more than 18,500 people applied for asylum in 2024. Before the pandemic, there were typically 1,000 to 5,000 applications for international protection in Ireland each year. That's an interesting statistic. So we've gone from, in some years before the pandemic, 3,000 to 5,000 applications, and now 18,500 people applied for asylum in 2024. It declined to between 1,500 and 2,600 in 2020 and 21 before a surge to more than 13,500 in 2022 and 2023. At the same time, more than 114,000 people arrived in Ireland fleeing the war in Ukraine. It brings the total of 159,000 people arriving claiming temporary protection or international protection between 2022 and 2024, 159,000, which is it's a lot of people, and that's a mix of those seeking asylum and those fleeing from Ukraine. And lastly, Traitors is, I suppose, currently it's like one of those TV shows that you've either watched it or you haven't watched it. I'm at the disadvantage that I haven't watched it at all, but it seems to be a show that has taken the country by storm, and it was the final last night, and I probably will catch up and watch it at some point. It's just, it was like 3 episodes a week, I think, or even more, I don't know. Certainly I think it went out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and if you miss the first 1 or 2 and everyone's talking about it, you kind of then don't get into it, if you know what I mean, or I didn't get into it. Maybe a lot of you were the same and you sort of felt left behind and it was too late to start. But anyway, it seems to be a show that has, it's not an original show, it's an international show, but it's captured the imagination of the Irish public. And Traitors winner Vanessa Ogbonna declared it was poetic justice after the 3 women triumphed last night in the smash hit reality show. After weeks of bickering, badgering and being misled, Kelly Higgins, Ian Adeyemi and Vanessa Ogbonna banished remaining traitor Ben at a Fireside Showdown to scoop the top prize of €42,900, which they'll have to split. As dazzling fireworks lit up the night sky over Slane Castle, host Siobhan McSweeney told the winner, "Congratulations, you are the Mannaharan who took down the traitors." And one thing I will note about it is that, and it does make you wonder, people commenting on social media as if, this wasn't a game, as if it was real, or as if people were genuinely nasty. I mean, it's a game, and now everyone takes everything so blooming serious. And if you the only real exposure I had to it was fully grown people being really, really quite passionate, nasty, hurtful in comments on social media, and you just wonder what's going on in your own life that all you can do is take your phone out and say something nasty. But anyway, such is life. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, of course. If you prefer, give us a call on 07491 25,000. If you want to talk about anything there we referenced in the newspapers, or if you wish indeed to raise your own issue. Let's take a break. Our first guest joins us momentarily.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountain Top Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountain Top Diner.
Get ready, Donegal. The big Highland Bingo Party is here.
On Saturday the 29th of November, the Villa Rose Hotel Ballybofey transforms into the wildest Christmas party of the year.
Hosted by me, Keith Fletcher, Lee Gooch and Marty Friel on the decks.
Think festive cocktails, classic party anthems, ridiculous games of course, and mad bingo mayhem.
Loads of prizes on the night with a €1,000 top cash prize up for grabs.
You better be quick. Tickets are on sale. Grab yours on Eventbrite or check out highlandradio.com.
The big Highland Bingo Party. Over 18s.
Ha ha! It's bingo, but not as you know it.
Imagine if you could test drive everything in life. marriage, new jobs, even your in-laws. Well, at least with your next car you can. At iMotors, we've been helping Donegal families for over 50 years find quality used cars they can trust. All 100% checked and come with a warranty. Take one for a spin today. Visit us in Letterkenny, Malin Village or at imotors.ie.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Pandora's 3 for 2 promotion is now on, with exclusive early access for Pandora Club members. Buy 2 pieces at full price and get the third one free. Show someone special that you're thinking of them, or treat yourself. Sign up to Pandora Club today. Offer ends 28th of September. Available in participating stores and at pandora.net while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
Celebrate iCare's 25th anniversary in style with iCabaret at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Saturday, September 27th. Get ready for a night packed with song, dance, drama and live music from Noise in General. Plus enjoy a delicious 2-course meal, all for just €25. Tickets are flying. Get yours today at the iCare Centre, iCare Charity Shop or online at eventbrite.com. iCare's iCabaret. This is going to be a great night you won't want to miss.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 9:20. So as you would know, there's been extensive coverage on this programme of the whole surgical hub debacle, and eventually we got to a point where there was a commitment for quite a significant investment in Letterkenny University Hospital, and we want to know how fastly the wheels are turning, if turning at all. But it does seem progress is being made, and I would hope in line with realistic expectations. To get a sense of that, let's chat to Independent Councillor Declan Meehan. Hi, Declan.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you on the show. Right, you were at this week's Health Forum meeting on the Letterkenny Surgical Hub. So what were you told?
Yeah, so at the Regional Health Forum meeting yesterday in Galway, myself and a number of my colleagues from Donegal had requested an update on the surgical hub. We were informed yesterday that the process for the design capital plan is underway, with companies appointed to commence that. We were also informed that a working group in the hospital has been set up and is due to meet in the coming weeks. And that with regards to the design and planning stage for the both the surgical hub and the ambulatory care centre, a design team will be appointed in the first quarter of 2026. And it's at that stage, once that design team is in place, that we'll have a more indicative timeline of when these facilities and this infrastructure will actually be delivered.
I think in reality, that's as much as we could expect at this point, that things are actually genuinely moving forward, and we kind of have a date where hopefully we'll get a more tangible timeline.
Yeah, I think so, Greg. Look, I mean, I'm as impatient as the next person to see this progress as quickly as possible. But the reality is, what we want is we want this to be done properly. There was 3 elements to the announcement that the Minister made on July 26th. A design or a development capital plan was one of those. So to see that is underway is great. And I think, we're nearly 2 months in since the announcement. So all of this, this stage in the process, is, probably going to be the slowest part, hopefully be the slowest part, while all the ducks are got in a row and the planning is sorted and the designs are sorted. So, hopefully once we get into the new year and into the first quarter, we'll see things progress more rapidly, hopefully, and certainly with more of an idea of the timeline from then on.
Really, to be honest, because sometimes, you can hear political commitments and then necessarily the action doesn't follow, and, you get one excuse or another. I think to see progress at this point is, and teams being assembled and what have you, I think it's encouraging. But obviously, we're all impatient and we have to keep the pressure on, but it does seem that somewhat encouraging. Okay, good stuff. what do you think of the presidential election, Declan? I know you basically just asked a couple of questions. Donegal County Council, they were to meet on Tuesday, were they, and then decided not to? What was the story? Were you involved in that, or do you have any insight into that?
The story there, I think, Greg, from my understanding of it and speaking to my colleagues, was that you need 5 councillors to call a meeting, a plenary meeting for a specific purpose. And those that were seeking to call a meeting for the purpose of nominating one of the independent candidates, they couldn't get that to that number of 5 to call it. So as a result of that, there was no meeting and no consideration by the council for any additional candidate.
At one point, as far as you're aware, were there 5 and then there wasn't 5?
I think that's correct, yeah. From my understanding, I think there was 5 and then it went back down to 4. I think that probably has a lot to do with maybe 1 or 2 of the candidates that group were trying to put forward, from my understanding, but I wasn't directly involved in that process. All
right, listen, great stuff. All right, thanks for the update, Declan. Look after yourself, Councillor Declan Meehan there. 086 60 25,000. Right, let's get to some of your comments. I want to get to... here we are. Our ancestors, says the listener, would turn in their grave watching democracy being destroyed in Ireland at the moment. Simon Harris needs to resign. What about Charles Ward? He can help Maria Steen and still support Connolly in the name of democracy. Well, he can't. No, once he was a signatory for Connolly, he could no longer then give his signature also to Maria Steen. So it's a one and done. He could have backed either, but obviously Catherine Connolly sought his support first. So no, he can't back 2 people. I really hope the Donegal TDs and senators step up, keep democracy alive in this country and give Maria Steen the support she needs. Allowing her the chance to stand is very important. Interesting take on it. I think just with party politics, whips and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure it's going to happen. Just a heads up on a scam, by the way. My friend was waiting for her bus yesterday at Letterkenny bus station when an older lady asked if she could use her phone, and she let her. However, upon receiving her phone back, she realised the lady took money that was in her phone cover. Just want people to be vigilant, as any money is a lot of money to lose these days, especially for college students. Wow, okay. Be really careful of that. Apparently an older lady asked to use the phone, and when it was handed back, money that was in the phone case had been gone. Now, I see people, and I literally almost can see them from where I'm sitting here now, who have a phone, their case, they have their bank cards in the phone case, they've got cash in the phone case. If they lose that, they're banjaxed. And often, guarantee you iPhone users, I guarantee you've got your bank code in your notes, your 4-digit code for your cash card. A lot of you do anyway. Go on, admit it. 086 60 25,000. That would be almost like my whole life outside my family, all in the one space. And I tend to try and keep those things separate. Right, let's have a chat to Mark. Hiya, Mark. Thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it.
Hiya, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Mark. Right, now, you're a wheelchair user, and you were recently at a public meeting that was hosted on Letterkenny traffic congestion. I think that's the Mary T. Sweeney organised meeting. And you spoke at that meeting about your lived experience. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, so basically I'm living at the bottom of Lismalla Road over the old town there. And one evening in the past year there, I was coming home from my work in one of the dark evenings. And a car had reversed into me on outside the hideout bar there, or the old hideout bar as people would know it there in the old town. This is because there's no pedestrian way of travelling, so I had to go out onto the road in order to get past that corner.
So there's no footpath that you can actually use. You have to go out onto the road in your wheelchair, just going home from work.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely crazy, really. It's not good enough in this day and age. And you have sort of
absolutely mental, Greg.
Yeah, it really is on so many different levels. You're a former disability access officer as well, and I think you were involved in a study. So you have a sort of good insight into this area, not least because you're a wheelchair user at all. So you've been engaged a lot, but obviously not much is moving forward when there's not even a blooming footpath you can use.
No, exactly. Like the they've obviously engaged with me, but I've carried out walkability studies. I've carried out audits. I've done the whole lot. Sent the footage to the council. I've got emails back saying, "Oh yes, we'll look into this. We'll raise it at the next meeting." Blah blah blah. But nobody has come out and actually looked at it with me and discussed what could be possibly done.
Well, you've done all you can do. You took videos, you sent pictures to all elected councillors in the area, and did they respond to you, or they did respond to you, but they haven't arranged sort of a site visit or maybe taken it up as a cause?
I've had a few responses from them, but they've said that they will take it up as a cause and will come out and visit me and walk it with me and do all this. But I've yet to hear back from them. It seems to have gone quiet after all the elections and everything. Everybody was elected, blah, blah, blah.
Mm. No motions before the council at all, sort of saying that we need to look at this area and citing your case. That didn't happen, obviously.
I'm not sure whether it was raised or not. It wasn't mentioned to me whether it was actually
You probably would have heard about it if
forward
it had.
or not.
Okay, well, listen, we'll check that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Your warning is simple, though. If something is not done, we are going to see a tragedy, and of course, at that point, it will all be too late.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. To be honest, there's a property on the corner of the road, and I'm just wondering why the council haven't put a compulsory purchase order on the hedge of the property. I'm not looking to take away the property. It's the hedge of the property which is obstructing them from having a footpath. It's then creating a blind spot, which means that I have to go out round the hedge to get past, and then I'm meeting oncoming traffic. So anyone who doesn't know that road and is coming down it doesn't know to slow down, that there may be a pedestrian coming.
Yeah. And the damage obviously caused to your wheelchair. If you were in a car and someone reversed into you, they'd be liable for it. What happened in that situation?
Yeah. Oh, the person was very apologetic.
Okay.
The careless felt got out and, I'm very sorry. But I was obviously shaken up because the car just reversed into me. I've seen it coming and I can't get out of the way.
Yeah, and I suppose, this is more words. Hopefully these are important words and your words, Mark, and hopefully someone listens to them. But I think for an awful lot of what you've been doing, between getting involved in studies, between sort of being involved as an access officer, it's just words, isn't it? It's action that's required.
Actions speak louder than words, Greg.
Yeah, okay.
At the end of the day, everybody can say what they want. I can promise the world to people, but doesn't mean that I'm going to deliver it.
All right, listen, Mark, thanks for helping us get the story out there, and we're going to chase it up as well too. This is what local democracy is all about.
Just before I go, it's not just for myself that I'm raising this issue. It's any pedestrian, women in pushchairs, even parents with pushchairs, not just women. Sorry, it's parents with pushchairs, any pedestrians. My own twin sister also has cerebral palsy, and she has to go out on the road as well.
Yeah.
And obviously has slight issues with balance and all the rest. It's a life is going to be, or somebody's going to be seriously injured before anything is done about it. And I would just like that not to happen before.
100%. 100%, Mark. Listen, thank you so very much for sharing your story and helping us get the message out there. It's greatly appreciated. Just some comments before a break. Traitors, obviously, lots of you liked it. Greg, I was so invested in the Traitors. I loved it from the beginning. Sunday, Monday and Tuesday nights won't be the same. It's great to get something new that was enjoyable. Well done, RTE. Another, Traitors is over. I loved it. Presenter Siobhan McSweeney was brilliant. She made the show. Delighted the girls won. The problem with climate change is the core faking it being an individual issue and not a them issue. Normally, folks, recycling isn't going to have any impact when factories still pump pollution non-stop. Another here on Trump. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, he is correct on climate change and immigration. The climate fraud can be debunked easily by looking at the real science and history of CO2, and open borders immigration has been a disaster in every country that has allowed it. There's more comments that came in as it relates to Donald Trump, his comments on autism, and also Dr. Dennis McCauley. I'll get to those and much more, by the way. Just catching up a little bit on what was a very busy text show yesterday. But I'll take a break before I say hi to our next guest.
If you're aged 59 to 70, we will invite you for a free HSE bowel screening home test. Screening can help find signs of bowel cancer early, before any symptoms show, making it easier to treat.
Looking for a career change? Come along to McElhenney's Job Fair event to learn about job opportunities in Donegal's largest independent retailer. Join us in Ballybuffet on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m, Friday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m, or Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m, and take the first step towards a new chapter with McElhenney's department store.
Join me, Marty Free, listen every Friday night from 8 for Rocket Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Try their new interactive dartboards with lots of games that all the family can play. See arena7.ie.
Looking for a career in Donegal with real purpose and growth potential? Tata Consultancy Services, proud winner of Workplace of the Year, is hiring customer service professionals. Be part of a passionate, innovative team with great opportunities to grow your tech career right here in Donegal. Apply today at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Your next new car is waiting at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer in Donegal. This 252, get a €1,000 trade-up booster on any Opel model and enjoy 2.52% finance. Choose from the bold new Corsa, stylish Astra, eye-catching Mokka, or all-new Grandland. Available in petrol, diesel, hybrid and electric. Don't miss out. Visit Manor Motors in Manor Cunningham or see manormotors.ie. Manor Motors, your trusted Opel dealer in Donegal.
For schools, colleges and workplaces, BizPrint can take care of all your printing needs. Books, posters, pop-up displays and much more. Call BizPrint on 9177955 or see bizprint.ie.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McBoden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Don't delay when you get your bowel screening invitation. Call us today on 1-800 45 45 55 or visit bowelscreen.ie. From the HSE.
Now we are joined on the programme by Malachy Doyle. Malachy, good morning to you. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. I'm in very good form. Thank you very much.
That's good to hear. Now, Malachy, your story is one of rescue. You were rescued off Owie Island by 2 RNLI crew members, namely JJ O'Donnell and Evan O'Donnell, who were recently awarded commendations from the RNLI, I beg your pardon, and richly deserved. Take us back to when was it and how did the events of that day unfold?
Yeah, we're talking, it's almost exactly 2 years ago, and I have a very nice sea kayak. I live on Critch Island, and just beyond it is Owie Island, and I often would take the kayak over there. It only takes 10-15 minutes, and around the side of Owie Island there's these beautiful caves you can go in and out of. And that day I thought, oh, it's a flat, calm day, I'll head over. I got to the mouth of the big cave, and didn't like the look of the water. Decided, nope, I don't like that. I'm turning around to go back. And as I turned around and I was sort of broadside to the mouth of the cave, this massive wave sort of came out of nowhere, like a freak wave, and just threw me out of the kayak and threw me and the kayak deep into the cave. And then the whole story sort of went on from there.
And I think anyone who's familiar with the sea and the situation you described there would understand then that rescue becomes quite a challenge, quite complicated. Talk me through that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was in the water for 30-40 minutes, hanging on to the upside down kayak. I couldn't get it over. I couldn't get the water. So I just couldn't get back in it. I didn't want to let go of it because I'm not the strongest of swimmers, and the the waves by now, the sea had got really rough in there, and it was tossing me all over the place. And I was fearful it was going to bash my leg or arm or head against the side of the cliffs, which were like steep-sided. There was no apparent way out. And then after about that half an hour, I spotted one ledge, one place where I thought, if I can get over there, I might be able to get up out of the sea, And still didn't feel brave enough to swim for it. Just wasn't confident to let go of the kayak and get there. But I waited, and luckily the waves brought the kayak over there. I just grabbed one little peaky rock and pulled myself up onto this ledge, which was only a few feet above the water level. Probably only 2 or 3 feet above the water level, and it was a really narrow ledge, just the size of a plank, So I got up and I thought, oh, well, I'm out of the water, but what now? I'm going to get really cold. I'd been stupid. I wasn't wearing a wetsuit. I hadn't told anybody I was going out. All these mistakes you make. And then I looked down and saw I had my phone around my neck and remembered that I had it in a wet bag, a dry bag, around my neck. And that saved my life, really, as well as RNLI, obviously. And because I pressed it, it was wet. And there was no signal. Then eventually I got a notification saying, we can't read your signal because you're deep in a cave. We can't read your location. But I just, I wasn't for giving up. I just kept pressing. And eventually it said fire service ambulance on it. And a voice came out saying, fire service. And I just blurted out, I'm in a cave on OE Island. I've been in the water 40 minutes. I need a rescue. And then my phone died.
Yeah, well, at least you got the location out. But the rescue complicated, I'd imagine, because, you've got the swell is bad enough in open waters, right? But you've got that operating within this sort of enclosed space. So in steps JJ and Evan, I beg your pardon. Yeah. It is a complicated rescue.
It was a very tough rescue. They did brilliantly. I waited an hour thinking, I hope that was a real, hope that rescue's on. It better be. And then I heard a chopper. I heard Rescue 118. I sort of knew, oh, here we go. The rescue's on. It's going to be expensive and embarrassing, but if they're out, I knew the chopper wouldn't see me because I was deep in the cave and so was the kayak. But I knew then that the boats would be out as well. I knew it meant Coast Guard, RNLI, they'll all be looking for me. It took them a couple of hours to locate me because I don't think the message got through I was actually in a cave. Basically, the message said near OE. So they were searching everywhere. They were searching absolutely everywhere. A load of local boats were out helping. They weren't finding me. And then the other person I owe my life to is Oscar Duffy, who's a local fisherman who knows those caves really well, and he just felt I was in a cave. And no boats could get in the cave because of that massive swell, and the tide had come up. There was no room to get in. It wasn't safe to go in at all. But he felt I was in one, and he came up and down the caves, and then I suddenly heard this voice shouting, "Oh, are you in there?" And I said, "Yes." So he got me, basically. He'd located me. He reported back to RNLI. They then, put in action everything possible to get me, and it took a long time to be able to for the conditions to be right, and they had to use this very small Y boat inflatable. And two guys, Evan and JJ O'Donnell, both only 19, I believe, volunteered to zoom in, and they had to get it exactly right. I only heard more about it on Saturday when they were getting their accommodations, that they could only get in and out between swells. They tried one time and had to be called back out quick. And then basically, they'd already sent a drone in to sort of locate me, into the cave. So they had an idea where I was. So then they shot in. I jumped, I sort of clambered in. Luckily, I was still sort of okay. And they shot out again, and we were safe. There was about 40, 50 boats out there. It was amazing.
There was a flotilla there,
grateful.
a flotilla waiting for your exit, Malachy. And I imagine it is kind of a bit like, oh no, what have I done here? Why is everyone out? You do hear that.
Oh
from
yeah,
people,
it was embarrassing, and then they took me to the shore, and there was the helicopter sitting on the 9th green of the Critch Island, the very precious Critch Island golf course, and I thought, oh, I hope I haven't messed up their green. This is going to be really, really embarrassing, and actually it hadn't. And they took me to Letterkenny Hospital. I got there in 7 minutes, where it normally takes an hour or more, and they kept me in overnight, for hypothermia.
It's actually a really good
and,
insight into the various. I mean, we kind of know, but just even the fact the use of drones and different boats and different supports, it's really quite interesting. And credit to the greenkeeper at Critch, obviously looking after those greens. If they can take a helicopter, that's worthy of a commendation, a commendation in and of itself. And to an extent, it was life imitating art, isn't it? Because ironically, you had written a children's book that outlined something of a similar situation.
It was strange, yeah. Well, it was weird, yes, because I'd been doing a series of picture books about a girl called Molly who lives on an island, like I do on Critch, and sort of all the things I do and come into it. But in this case, she was the one in need of rescue in the book, which I'd already written and was currently being illustrated. She gets trapped in a sea cave with the sea rising all around her and needs the rescue. And then within 6 months, it was me, which is a bit scary and makes me worry about what I write next. Because it doesn't come true.
We'll write a story about a kid winning the lotto. That might work.
Yeah.
Listen, it's great that the two young lads,
the
two young lads who are mature beyond their years, got their their commendations, their certificate of commendations, and I think it's extra special, Malachy, that you were able to be there because that's what we want to hear: successful outcomes.
Yeah, I was thrilled that they asked me to go. I've been very happy to. A lot of people who've been through these sort of rescues, they're either a bit embarrassed or the trauma of it, they don't want to relive it. But for me, I really want to, very happy to go public because I want to express my gratitude as many times as I can and as much as I can. But I also want to warn people to be careful, especially at sea. If things go wrong, they go badly wrong. And, I made bad mistakes. And I actually haven't been back in a kayak since.
Have
but,
you not? Really? That's interesting.
You can do it.
Yeah, okay. And, then of course you start supposing about if the phone didn't work or you hadn't it with you. But look, we are where we're at, and I think we can only deal with reality, not stuff that didn't or could have happened, because it didn't, and it didn't happen. Listen, I'm glad that you are doing well. It'd be lovely to hear you back out in the kayak, but I can understand why not. And a big well done to Evan and JJ as well, and also to the guys up. We fought tooth and nail to retain Malin Coast Guard because of their local knowledge. And that was a big battle a number of years ago. They're brilliant. Yeah. Now, Dr. Life.
Yeah, it was them that they picked up that first report, actually, Malin Coast Guard, so they played a very keen part in that, yeah.
All right, then. Great stuff. Nice to hear you doing well. Keep doing what you do, Malachy. That's Malachy Doyle there. Okay, I'll take a quick break. Back with more.
Are you going through intense treatment, alopecia or hair thinning? At the Donegal Wig Centre and Patrick O'Day Hairdressing, we have over 30 years' experience helping people feel themselves again. In our private consultation suite, we have the largest selection of beautiful wigs and hairpieces in the Northwest, and we're HSE approved. To arrange your private consultation at the Donegal Wig Centre in Letterkenny, call us today on 91254776.
Has your child recently started school? Donegal County Library, in partnership with First Five, a whole-of-government strategy to improve the lives of babies, young children and their families, is here to support this big step. Visit your local library and you can pick up a free little library book bag and their very own library card. There's one for every child starting school, available now at your local library, an initiative of the Government of Ireland in association with Libraries Ireland and Donegal County Library.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Here, would you look at Eco Ende?
He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
How are things? How's the family? How are you? How can I help?
When it comes to supporting people living with dementia, it starts with asking how. Because how is a small word, but this social connection makes a big difference. So if you know someone affected by dementia, check in with them and learn more about how you can help build dementia-inclusive communities at understandtogether.ie from the HSC.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Radio, so a cloudy start with a slight chance of some very isolated light showers in the afternoon. Later this evening, though, we'll see cloudier conditions develop with patchy light rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees and light to southerly winds. And this settled weather is coming from the influence of high pressure. We're going to see a bit of rain and potentially some wind over the weekend. But apparently there's another high pressure going to take control of our weather next week, which will mean not temperatures, but settled weather. Right, now, lots of you messaged in yesterday on our conversation as it relates to the new SPH, the new curriculum, for primary school students. I will get to those comments, by the way, in case you're waiting to hear those. Right, Stacey joins me now. Hi, Stacey.
Hiya.
Right, now, your father recently suffered a heart attack. Take us through that story, because this is a story of sort of people stepping up and helping your dad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. He was down in Letterkenny on it was a 2-day trip, and he literally got there and he took a heart attack. He was out walking and he took a heart attack, and there was 4 people stepped forward then to help him. I've already spoken to 2 of those people, and I'm just sort of trying to find the others house so I can thank them as well.
He's from Ballymoney, but he was down on a bus trip. He's still in the hospital, but doing okay. He's improving, is he?
Yeah, he's improving every day. They want to try and get him moved up now closer to home to Korean, but they're still trying to find a bed for him so that they can do that.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later for everyone. He'd be like to be closer to home, and of course for family visiting him. So you've managed to track down and thank a number of people that were involved in this process, but there was a taxi driver who helped your dad on Friday the 12th of September around about 6:30 p.m. That taxi driver was outside McGinley's car showroom in Letterkenny, and that's the one part of this sort of team of people that assisted your dad that you've not been able to track down yet.
Yeah, I've not been able to find him yet. No, he rang the ambulance for my dad, and then from what I was told then as well yesterday from the 2 people that helped him as well, that there was another woman as well that had helped as well, and I haven't been able to find her yet either.
Right, okay. So there's a woman actually also who helped too that you haven't been fit to track down, or the taxi driver. As a daughter...
Yeah, she was apparently a nurse.
Okay, well that was very convenient. As a daughter, Stacey, why is it important to track these people down? I kind of know the answer, but I'm just interested sort of as part of your journey in reaction to this news, why it's important to reach out to those that were involved in this.
Well, it says you saved his life, and I can't thank them enough, and I really want to, meet them so I can thank them face to face, that, they did save his life. It could have been a different story if they hadn't have been there.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm glad to hear that your dad's recovering, and it'll be nice when he can get moved closer to home to continue his recovery. We're looking for a taxi driver who was involved in supporting Stacey's dad. It was on Friday the 12th of September, around about 6:30 p.m. outside McGinley's car showroom in Letterkenny. The man had suffered a heart attack, and also a lady that was there too. And it's important to Stacey and the family, if the people are willing to come forward, it's completely up to them, of course, to be able to thank them personally for their part in keeping their dad with you.
Yeah.
Okay, Stacey, well, listen, I know that this message will reach the people, such as the reach of the show. It's up to them now if they wish to step forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and
yeah,
if they
that's
do,
great. Thank you very
if
much
they
for
do,
your time.
we'll pass it on to you. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you
well
very
done,
much.
and best wishes to your dad from us here, and wish him a full and speedy recovery.
Will do. Thank
All
you.
right, take care of yourself, Stacey. Thanks so very much indeed. Right, let me see. So, a new curriculum has come out for primary children. There's a lot going on. I think Irish has kind of been overlooked in it, which would kind of bother me, if I'm completely honest with you. I think there's a discrepancy in the teaching of certain subjects and the facilities available in certain schools. That would also bother me. And there's lots going on. But what seems to be vexing people is the potential for a discussion of puberty, sex, gender, or what have you. So there's a couple of things going on here in the SPHE, and I'm not here advocating for it or defending it, right? I'm only just trying to deal in facts. And we spoke to the person responsible for putting it together. There's no reflection, its gender is male and female. There's no talk of gender fluidity, non-binary, etc. Some people are concerned that how does a teacher answer if someone asks a question about gender? Then there is a video from the INTO, I don't know how long it's going to be out, where they advise how you talk about gender. So this is all stuff that's happening around, but not actually contained within the curriculum. Do you understand? And also, too, there are people advocating for parents who they believe the parents themselves don't know how to ask questions, which maybe that is the case. Or maybe those parents actually are being categorized as not being able to engage, but actually really don't care to engage because they don't have a problem with it. So it's complex. A caller says, perhaps a few local meetings to inform parents what the changes are so they can make an informed decision. Well, here's the changes, right? The curriculum is there. From third year on, there's going to be some talk of puberty. In 5th and 6th class, they're going to be talking about, and over those years, they're going to be talking about consent in a non-sexual way, consent so you can say no. And in 5th and 6th class, there's going to be talk of bisexual, heterosexual, homosexual partnerships, relationships. That is it. Now, if you don't want your kids exposed to that for whatever reason, go to your school, phone up the principal and say, listen, I have concerns about how these topics are going to be taught, or maybe you don't want them to be you don't want transgender issues to be discussed, and say to the principal, say, listen, I'm not really comfortable with that. It's not in the curriculum, and I prefer if my children didn't have access to that conversation. And that's it. You call the principal and say, the genders in the curriculum are male and female, and the relationships that will be discussed are heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, and there's going to be some talk of puberty, particularly in 5th and 6th class. But I know from 5th and 6th class students who are in my family that they have already talked about puberty and sex. So anyway, listen, that's what I would advise people do. Another caller says, there isn't a single 13 or 14-year-old who doesn't know about gays and lesbians. They all have smartphones, or their friends do. The problems is that primary school is too early for this type of discussion, as children of this age are easily influenced and may make a decision that will ruin their lives. That proposition is that someone could turn gay because they know what gay is. Have you watched EastEnders or Emmerdale? Like, every second relationship seems to be a gay relationship or a different relationship to a heterosexual relationship. But maybe these kids aren't watching any of those shows, or they aren't watching any of the shows on Netflix where these relationships are presented as normal all of the time. Greg, you're not alone. We all be conservative in regards to our children. Who in their right minds wants to take away children's innocence? It needs to be protected at all costs. As a dad, my concern is that someone might take away their innocence if they don't know what someone is doing to them is wrong, or inappropriate words are being said to them, or fake trust is being established with them. That genuinely takes away their innocence. Personally, as a dad, I don't think knowing that gays exist or bisexuality is a thing. I don't think any of my boys would have turned gay or bisexual because they were told about it in 5th or 6th class, but maybe some mums and dads feel differently. And I'm not trying to influence it one way or other. Everyone's opinions on this have been platformed. And we'll have dozens more coming up. We'll try and get through them over the course of the morning. But first, let's take a break for the news and obituary notices.
The Donegal Cheviot Sheep Breeders Show and Sale will take place on Wednesday 24th of September in Stranraer Mart, including pedigree rams, hogget ewes and ewe lambs. Show at 5 p.m, sale at 7. That's the Donegal Cheviot Sheep Breeders Sale, Wednesday 24th of September at Stranraer Mart, with over 60 SAS approved rams on offer. This ad is sponsored by Robert Key Power Equipment, now offering 0% finance on all Honda quads.
Luxury living begins at the heart of your home, your fireplace. At Spratt Fireplaces, Newmills, Letterkenny, we offer statement fireplaces, bespoke surrounds, and a wide range of stoves, including gas, wood burning, pellet, and bioethanol models. No chimney? No problem. We'll help you choose and install the perfect solution. Stylish, efficient, and tailored to your home. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Spratt Fireplaces, bringing comfort and style home.
Test drive your new Cupra this weekend. Experience performance and prestige at the DMG Motors Cupra Roadshow Test Drive event this Thursday, Friday and Saturday. This special event is taking place on the Joe Bonner Road, Letterkenny, beside the Public Service Building. Avail of the great Cupra offers this week in Letterkenny.
The sofa and mattress sale ends this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture. If you're searching for a stylish new sofa or a more restful night's sleep, look no further. We have a wide selection of sofas and mattresses with huge reductions across both ranges. Speak to our furniture experts in store today to find the pieces of your dreams at unbeatable prices. The sofa sale ends this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Lake Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
We know we've a lot to get through. Searching for low prices shouldn't be one of them. That's why Screwfix check prices daily on over 1,000 essentials and basics. Screwfix, low price, check.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The trial of Soldier F continues today in Belfast. The former British paratrooper is accused of 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Derry in 1972. He has pleaded not guilty. A judge will rule today on whether to admit what's been termed decisive evidence to the trial. The Dáil has been told that the defective concrete scandal is a national emergency, which the government has willfully mismanaged for over a decade. Donegal Deputy Charles Ward told TDs that 40% of impacted homeowners are living with severe depression, while the government continues to claim that people are being looked after. The truth, he said, is that we are now on a second failed scheme. Deputy Ward said the situation is being worsened by some of the downgrading of engineers' recommendations to demolish by others who are employed by the housing agency at a time when what he believes to be the outdated IS 465 standard is under review. He described that as unethical. Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan responded that if unethical practices are being pursued, then that should be reported.
A number of people were given full demolition. It was passed over to the Housing Authority and then downgraded. This is unethical. It's unethical engineering.
You say that there is unethical engineering ongoing in Donegal. There are mechanisms in place to report engineers who are acting unethically, and I would urge people who believe they're the victims of unethical engineering that they use the appropriate mechanism to report engineers involved in that type of activity.
And you can hear that full exchange on our website, highlandradio.com. With just hours to go before the deadline for presidential nominations, Maria Steen has 18 of the required 20 Oireachtas members needed to enter the race. Earlier, Senator Aubrey McCarthy said he would back her bid to appear on the ballot paper. He stressed it's not an endorsement of her campaign, but he said candidates deserve the chance to make their case to the voters. Jim Gavin, Heather Humphreys and Catherine Connolly have already submitted their nomination papers. The deadline is 12 noon today. A Donegal deputy has accused the government of building wind farms to line the pockets of developers rather than create an opportunity for native renewable energy generation. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin says he visited a wind farm near his own home in County Donegal where half the windmills are switched off during the day. He says a lack of infrastructure means the wind farms can't be used to their full potential. That, Deputy McLaughlin says, is very telling.
There are over 20 turbines on that hill. Half of them are switched off during the day. Half. Because we don't have the electricity infrastructure to avail of the wind energy. So what it was about? It was about making profits for the people who developed those wind farms, not about reducing costs for our people. The potential of wind energy is actually huge. If you'd have worked in partnerships with communities, if you'd had ensured ownership as much as possible within communities, we would be benefiting hugely from that today.
An independent review is being published later into the extent of PSNI spying on journalists and lawyers. It's taken submissions from people who believe they may have been spied on. Issues around police surveillance have attracted increased scrutiny since the 2018 arrest of 2 journalists in Northern Ireland. With more, here's Johnny Freeman.
The journalists were arrested as part of an investigation into the alleged leaking of a police watchdog document that appeared in a documentary. The pair won a court case which found the search warrants used had been inappropriate, and last year an investigatory powers tribunal found police acted unlawfully in a bid to uncover their sources. The independent review, which is out later, follows concerns over the surveillance of journalists as well as lawyers and other groups.
Nearly 61,000 secondary school students have been given exemptions from studying Irish. That's a new record high. According to the latest figures from the Department of Education and Youth obtained by TG Carr, the numbers have almost doubled in the past 7 years. It's led to fears that Irish is losing its compulsory status in schools. Paul Crone is director of the National Association of Principals and Deputies. He says it's not surprising.
Firstly, we have the highest number of students in post-primary and indeed in our schools than we've ever had in the history of the state. So there's a larger number of students, so you would expect a larger number of exemptions. But we also have an increase in international students that have come into our system where English is not their first language, so they would automatically get exempt. We have an increase in students with additional educational need.
Well, the forecast a cloudy start with a slight chance of some very isolated light showers this afternoon. Top temperatures 13 to 15 degrees Celsius in light southerly winds, moderate along Atlantic coasts. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock in the interim. Check all today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The Obituary notices this Wednesday morning, September 24th. The death has taken place of Evelyn Ruddy, Kindroy Head, Glenealy. Evelyn's remains will leave Eamon McLaughlin's funeral home, Station Road, Carndonagh, today at 5 o'clock, going to her home. Funeral from there on Saturday at 9:20. For 10 a.m, Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Bocken, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on kildaffparish.com. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Ard Avon Dementia Unit, Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Patricia Patsy Brennan, née Barron, 325 Connyborough Road, Lifford, and formerly of Ballyshannon and Athlone. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlog, Lifford at 11:30. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. No wake, the house is strictly private. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place in Glasgow of Patrick Pat Hanlon of Glasgow, Drumkeen and Meenaniller, Gweedore. His remains will repose at Rorty's Funeral Home, Derry Beg, Donegal this evening from 5 p.m. until Rosary at 8 o'clock. Removal afterwards to the family home in Meenaniller, house strictly private to family only. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in the Church of the Sacred Heart, Dunlewy. Interment afterwards in Mahrelgalm Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the church webcam. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Fancy fish tacos tonight? You'll catch some amazing prices at Aldi, that's for sure. The finest Irish breaded haddock goujons are just $2.99. Sour cream at just 89¢. Mixed chilies only 49¢. And 8 mini white tortilla wraps are just 85¢. That's an evening treat at amazing Aldi value, all wrapped up. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Right, let's get to some more of your comments here. By the way, business news coming up a little later on. Chris is going to be in studio with us, that and so much more besides. Greg, I've one question. How did we survive for the last 2,000 years without all this education about sex to do with our well-being? And don't tell me about suicide numbers. When I was a child, to hear of suicide in the neighbourhood was a once in a many years occurrence. Now, sadly, it's happening every other week, including a good friend's child. It is sad, of course, yes. But I think we're talking about things more. I don't know how we survived. All I know is the most recent study showed that 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds in an extensive survey, 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds says they were abused as a child sexually. Now, that seems almost unbelievable that it could be true, doesn't it? But this is a survey. The amount of... We're seeing record levels of children contacting phone lines and support services because of sexual abuse. We've never seen a higher rate of peer-on-peer sexual abuse. So this is 14-year-olds abusing 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds acting inappropriately to 13-year-olds. So there is an epidemic of it out there. Now, is educating people what's right and wrong, how you can say yes or no as a child, is that harmful? Well, if we don't do that, how do we educate kids to protect themselves so that they can avoid finding themselves in those situations? Because you can't ignore one. I don't think you can't ignore one. Exactly, Greg. Knowledge is power. Only those who want children abused would fight arming them with the knowledge and language to be able to tell responsible adults. Another, Greg, can parents stop their children from these new classes that learn about homosexuality or bisexuality? I didn't hear this before the election. The majority of the population are being hoodwinked again because the parties would not be in power. What's the real agenda here? Well, unfortunately, every matter, be it how we educate our children, what medicines are good or bad for us, are now political. This wouldn't have been an election issue. This is a curriculum that was devised over the course of the last 8 years in consultation with teachers, with students. There was some consultation with parents. It overlaps 2 election cycles, so it's got nothing to do with elections. If you don't want your child being talked about homosexuality or bisexuality, you talk to your principal, ring the principal and say, I see in this new curriculum that we are going to be talking about these issues. I don't want my child present for those classes. What accommodation can you make for them? Because I'm not keeping them out of school, right? So you need to make an accommodation for them. And advocate for yourself and for your children if that's what you believe, is the right thing. Now, it's very likely that your children are very familiar with homosexuality and bisexuality. They might have an uncle or an aunt or a neighbour or someone, or they might watch TV shows. They might be watching EastEnders, Coronation Street, any of the shows on Netflix. All of these relationships are there and present as normal. Right? So I would be astonished if your children going into 5th and 6th class were not A, knowledgeable about this, B, not necessarily anti it, right? And C, actually very confident in who they are themselves. But as I say, all kids are different. You're the parent. If you have an issue, contact the principal. I never said a child would turn gay because of it's being discussed. I'm simply trying to point out that the subject is too confusing for primary school children and not something they should be exposed to at this young age. I can only talk to the 12, 13, 14-year-olds. I don't clearly, obviously, talk about these things to them because that would be inappropriate. But you do get a sense in conversation and what you can pick up that they're very aware of what's going on in the world. A caller believes the politicians don't want Maria Steen to enter the presidential race as she'll destroy them in any debate, as she did to Micheál Martin in the carers referendum. Without a Conservative voice in this election, the debates will be bland and boring and extremely unfair and actually anti-choice and anti-equality. Well, we're keeping an eye on her chances of getting on the ballot. I agree with you in that I don't think the positions really between the other three candidates are miles and miles apart. That being said, I would anticipate that Maria Steen might tone down some of the language. So if you're expecting her to come out very strong on certain matters, her line will be, and it has been to this point, on certain issues that the people have already spoken, and she respects their democratic will. So if you think Maria Steen is going to try undo what's been done as part of the presidential campaign, I think you might be disappointed. I'll watch on and see, but I think you may well be. Well done to the young man Mark to explain how every day he faces the dangerous route from his home to town. He's a wheelchair user. I live in the Lismonaghan area and can see how difficult it is for pedestrians, parents with buggies and young children trying to dodge the constant flow of traffic. Greg, I don't agree with much of Maria Steen's views, but I'm horrified at how hard it is for her to go before the people as a presidential candidate. So much for democracy. It's being undermined deliberately by the party whip mechanism. Now is the time to discuss change to the constitution to allow a more democratic way of standing, not one that suits the big political parties. I'm sure it doesn't happen. But at this point, because she probably does present a threat, you wouldn't have sort of political parties trying to influence what independents might do, even maybe with some favourable decisions that might suit their areas. That doesn't happen, does it? We know that happens in the formation of a government, whereby independents or others could be courted to support a government or this, that and done. But that wouldn't happen in a presidential election to block a candidate, would it? Whereby certain people could be courted to try and not give their vote a certain way. As I say, I haven't a clue, but you'd wonder, you'd hope it doesn't happen. As a Conservative voter, says this listener, I'd love to see Maria Steen get the 2 extra votes she needs to stand. I think it's so important that the country is allowed choice and not just political parties' rulings. Because, you know, obviously the 3 candidates in there at the moment are backed by Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin, who are not Conservative, really, I don't think, are they? No, right? So Maria Steen would be that. Would that be that voice, I would imagine. The caller says, as a retired teacher grandmother now, a lot of what's in the so-called new curriculum needs careful examination by parents. I remember attending meetings about this process when Joe McHugh was Minister for Education. A lot of what was in the mix then was questioned and objected to, but thousands of signed petition were classed as one submission. The present content may have been watered down, but I recommend that all parents check and question the content and method of teaching the programme. I always explain the content of any such lessons to parents before I taught it. Parents do check with Rebecca and the organisation A Parent's Right. Yeah. But also make sure, I think anyone should, and this is not any reference to A Parent's Right, make sure you're actually checking what's in the curriculum. Not necessarily what an INTO video from 4 or 5 years was. Make sure you're armed with the right questions if you're approaching a principal. Principally, that's the way to go forward. You ask, you look at the curriculum.ie. It's all there, the tools for parents, the tools for teachers, and you find out if this information would be beneficial to your child or not. Right? So you might think that, you know, some of this information, you know, you'd prefer if your child wasn't hearing it, but overall the benefit to your child might make it worth it. Or maybe you want to throw the baby out with the bathwater in one way or other. But just, you know, it's a nuanced area, I think. Now we know exactly who is deciding what should be taught to our children and grandchildren, i.e. an unelected group called LGBT. That's demonstrably untrue, but anyway, that's your view and that's fine. What exactly is the obsession with these people and indoctrinating young children on sex orientation? Sadly, most of the parents are asleep. This began with the flying of multicoloured flags in schools without parents' consent. Now it's being pushed into the curriculum. You can be sure the survey they carried out done with a certain type of school. Again, the point I was trying to make to the parent yesterday, if you look at, say, the most recent Pride Week, you're not seeing the major organisations putting flags up in their businesses anymore. A number of Pride events are being cancelled because they can't get the funding to support them. You know, for right or wrong, and I do have sympathy for those who feel they're being would for any demographic of people. I think there's in terms of certain movements and influence, there is a turning of the tide there. As I say, you can decide whether that's right or wrong. Hi, Greg. Whatever happened about teaching kids about the nuclear family? the one that creates kids, male and female, instead of this bisexual stuff. We're normalising this gender ideology nonsense. We've lost our way. Well, gender ideology and whether someone's bisexual or not are two different areas. I think people fought long and hard to live their lives as gay people or bisexual people, you know, and then now you're sort of throwing in the TI, etc. in there, which that some would argue is a separate situation, but it's a complicated area I'm not really comfortable being in at all. A caller says, it's because the people who want it removed from schools are bigots and are worried that teaching kids about being gay will make them gay because they lack critical thinking. Yeah, I suppose too, do we consider if there are a class of 30 kids that maybe 4 or 5 of them at that age already know they are, and what impact might it have on them, or if it's negative towards them, is that worth the greater sacrifice? You know, that's the decision people have to make on these things. I'm a 70-year-old man. I didn't know there was such a thing until I was about 20. I'm not sure what that is. Is that, anyway, that would have been relevant at the time what we were doing. Greg, I feel the folks who are saying we need to return to normality in the times of normality. We had rampant unreported paedophilia, people covering for priests and defending the perpetrators. Look at how Sweden's education system leads to such a high paedophile conviction rate. People need to be informed. Protecting them from learning is the same as protecting a paedophile. It's interesting that the moves, not necessarily in this country, but certainly in the United States anywhere and elsewhere, back to conservatism and the people that it does seem to affect. It seems to be particularly women. You know, in more conservative society, their rights seem to be sort of infringed upon or rolled back. In terms of kids, it's, you know, speak when you're spoken to, stay quiet. You don't need this information. We'll tell you what's right for you. And that seems to be the way it's going in certain countries. That's the way it's going here. Maybe that's what people want. Now, before the break, wishing Kelly Higgins a big congratulations on being one of the winners of the Traitors from all her family and relatives in Ballybofey. And Kelly will be on the radio at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this show or one of the other shows. She's tied up today, but you will hear from her on Highland tomorrow, I think. As I say, I'm not sure if it's on this show or another. All right, good luck if you are playing the bingo today. Here are the numbers.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, September 24th. Playing on a blue sheet. Reference number is S13. It's week 39. Today's numbers are 50, 21, 40, 8, 37, 70, 78, 25, 46 and 6. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Granny, did you hear what I said?
If you've been saying, what was that? A bit more lately, it might be time to have your hearing checked. At Connect Hearing, we don't just fit hearing aids, we help you hear life again. From tiny in-the-ear styles to Bluetooth connected devices, we fit the best solution for you. Call 074 911 3296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
We wish you a
It may be too early for Christmas carols, but it's never too early to start the Christmas shopping. Save hundreds, possibly thousands of euro shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save on delivery and on customs tariffs this Christmas with Space Hub Derry. Open Monday to Saturday, collect at your convenience. Find us on Facebook and Google Space Hub Derry.
Just an update on the Maria Steen situation. We've just been speaking off air to those who would be very much involved in her campaign to get on the ballot, and they're at this stage saying, with less than 2 hours to go before the deadline, that it would take a miracle. So we shall watch on with interest there. Right. Sarah Wallet is Movember country manager. Good morning to you, Sarah. How are you getting on?
Good morning. No, I'm great.
Talk to us about Movember before we sort of get into some of the focus for this year. How long has it been about? Where did it come from? Is it part of something international?
It's international. So Movember started in Australia 22 years ago. So we've been around a while. We've been working in Ireland for about 18 years of that 22. We've had a fantastic history in Ireland. We've raised lots of money. We have about 12,000, 13,000 people across the country who take part in our campaign every year. And this report that we've released is really a groundbreaking piece of work for us, because it's the first time we've really done a spotlight into what the state of men's health is in this country.
And unfortunately, it shows that far too many men are dying unnecessarily from preventable causes.
That's exactly right. So what we're seeing is that 2 in 5 men will die prematurely in Ireland from highly preventable causes. And premature means under 75, and that's very young, really. And we've also, this report goes into great detail around where you live, impacts potentially how long you may live. So men who are living in like less advantaged parts of the country are 150 times more likely to die before the age of 75. And
so whilst we talk about 2 in 5 as an average, in certain areas or within certain demographics, that number actually could be much greater. That gets us to the medium, to gets us to the average.
That's right. So I think what we've seen here is that there is a disparity between different parts of the country and the types of services that you can access as a man, the type of supports that are there for you. Certainly also lifestyle comes into play. So people in rural Ireland have sometimes more risky jobs they have to do. And so that also, and the type of life that you lead can be different. But overall, what we're seeing is that this is a stark picture of men's health. And the thing that we say at Movember all the time is that men's health is not just about men. Men's health has a ripple effect across society in good ways. When men are in good health and they're living well, we see all the positive benefits for families, for employers, for communities. But on the flip side, when men are not well and they are dying too young, we see all the difficult ripple effects. And that's what we're really talking about with this report.
Yeah, of course. So we're talking about early dying, but it doesn't necessarily catch people who end up in very poor health as well, which would add to that statistic and how much they can contribute. A lot of it's that we'll talk about the mental health situation and people dying by suicide. But in terms of, cardiovascular stuff to do with the respiratory system, a lot of that seems to be, or even going to get your levels checked, your blood tests after a certain age and what have you. A lot of that, we must be avoiding it. We must be sort of rolling the dice on it. My blood pressure's fine. I feel fine, even though there's no symptoms to high blood pressure, right? Not sort of tracking, levels within your blood that could indicate problems with your prostate, right? We're obviously not really, many of us, checking that stuff out.
I think what we know is that men are less likely to engage in like preventative measures for their health. So men go to healthcare when they know there's something wrong, but they wait longer. And so what we see is that, cardiovascular and heart health is interesting because this data shows us and tells us that that men are like 1.5 times more likely to die prematurely from heart disease than women. But the same preventative healthcare measures are out there for both. And we can see that there's just a different engagement with these things. And so there are some amazing programs out there, I must say, around kind of working with men and trying to meet men where they are when it comes to heart health. So you see things like Farmers Have Hearts, which is a great program. And there's lots of things like that. But what we're saying in this report, why we're calling on government to look at this, is that we see great things happening around the country in smaller scales. And if we can make this reach more men and actually scale up to do more work, we're going to save more lives. And that's really our message, is that These are deaths that can be avoided, and poor health has an impact. We spoke to carers in this report as well, so particularly informal carers, and most of those people are women. And the impact that a man in poor health has on the people who are caring for him is vast. So carers say that they have, worse outcomes for their own mental health, their physical health, financial health in some cases. So we really need to think about how can we support men earlier in their health journey to make sure that we're addressing issues earlier. They don't get to crisis point. We see this when it comes to suicide, which is the biggest killer of young men. And how do we get to men earlier so that we don't get to a place where they're going to the GP? And we've spoken to GPs as well, who say that 97% of the GPs that we spoke to said they had a man come through their surgery in the last year talking about suicidal behavior, but only 14% of those GPs felt very confident supporting that man. So the gap is big. And if you've worked up the courage to go to the GP and say, I'm struggling with my mental health, and that GP doesn't have the support from the system to be able to support you to be well, that's a problem. So that's really the message here is we can do better. And we know that the government can work in partnership with the sector, with us, with all kinds of people who are doing great work, and we can improve this.
Yeah, because, hopefully we might reach a handful of people today. I don't know, that maybe they'll do something. What you're doing incredibly important. This conversation is very important. But as you can imagine, in your role, but also in my role, constantly talking about this, constantly talking about it whilst the mental health crisis continues. There seems to be, there seems to be a reference on the show yesterday. I'm on anecdotal, 16 to 28 in men, and then seemingly like 40 to 70. There seems to be this something's going on, not exclusively in those age categories. And I feel frustrated, Sarah, is that we're constantly talking about it, but we're not really doing anything about it. Not me and you, but us as a nation. Like something similar to what we do with road traffic collisions, for an example. Trying to think of some sort of innovative way or incentive that guys, when they hit 40 or 45, are almost coerced into going and getting bloods done or a health check or something. I don't know how that might be, right? But something, because whilst we're having this conversation, people are dropping constantly.
Yeah, it is. And that is scary. That is a big, scary picture. I think the thing that we're saying with this report is it is a massive problem, but we know that there are things that are working. So if these things are working at, not necessarily even small scale, you look at like men's sheds, which are across the country, and they're doing incredible work. And they really are thinking about how do we reach men in the way that men are going to engage with the system. So there's no point. We see things like where you look at the early screening programs, for example, bowel cancer screening is a good one example where that is available to men and women. And there is very low uptake from men typically in early screening programs, but we seem to still take the same model and try and apply it without thinking about, well, why aren't men engaging with this? What can we do differently so we're reaching those men earlier in a better way so we can get them checked quicker, earlier, and have a better impact longer term on their health? So it's from our point of view, there are good things happening. We can see them. We can see good health outcomes in these projects and these things that are happening on the ground. Let's do more of that, but let's also invest in learning about how we reach these men, because I don't think we know well enough as a nation how we can reach these men.
See, what I think is happening a lot of the time is that if a woman, this is incredibly broad gender strokes, right? But if a woman's feeling lethargic or something, like it seems to be such an easy thing to do, well, I'm going to go and get my bloods done. But for a lot of men, that's effectively shaking hands with their own mortality or something. You know what I mean? I mean, how many women listening to this or whatever the makeup of the relationship, how many women are sick of hearing the other half complaining about not feeling well or a pain somewhere, and they've said to you, look, I'll book you to the GP. Oh, no, I'll give it a week. We'll sort it. No, it's just this. That happens all the time. I am that soldier. I'll be completely honest with you, right? I'm that person. I don't know what it is. Right, but I'm scared S-less of going and getting stuff checked.
Yeah, and we actually, the GPs that we spoke to us about what is their experience with men once they do come to the GP, right? So they've got to the GP, what happens? And what we learned from the GPs are a few things. One is short appointment times. So for some men, that 15-minute window, getting to the end of the 15 minutes is when they finally tell you what's happening for them. And that's a challenging situation for a GP. We see the cost is sometimes prohibitive for people. They can't afford to go to see the GP, and that's an issue. We see where the GPs just don't necessarily have the support or the sort of the background to be able to understand how to tackle these things with men, different to women, different to children. Like there is this very specific way. What we are seeing, which is really hopeful, I think, is that when you look at programs that are specifically tailored to men, where they may not go to the GP and say they're struggling, but they might be in an environment like a men's shed and say, you know, I've been really tired lately and I've really struggled my appetite's gone. And it's when we have people working together in those spaces, and they can say, as a community, sort of say, hey, you know what? I was at the GP the other day. You know, it was super easy. I just had some bloods done. And this is what happened. It's those types of things, interventions like that we know work. We know they work. There's evidence to show it. So more of that is what we need to be doing.
I don't want to be negative either, though, but we've got serious gaps in terms of, you know, even if someone presents at the ED with mental health issues, what services are available for them. Horror stories of people being turned away or just leaving after a while because they're sitting there with not the same supports in that hospital that there are in other hospitals, and they're sitting there with people who are physically ill, and that could be their one time that they reach out and there's nothing there for them. GPs, you struggle to get an appointment. You know, if you're suicidal and they say we can fit you in Wednesday afternoon at 3:30, right? That's no good. And then you get your 15 minutes and you're talking about the biggest conversation you might ever have about your well-being. The services that are available through, through agencies, mental health services, CAMS, etc. The services, the supports, they're simply not there. And I don't want to paint this hopeless picture. Everyone has to go out and get help, but you know, even getting physical care, we need to really begin investing heavily in these areas, because I think if we're relying on GPs who are overstretched and our general practitioners, right, we're always going to have a problem.
I think the thing that we are looking at is how can we look at earlier interventions so we don't get to a crisis point. And that's, so what is possible so that we're relieving the pressure off of that crisis point health system that is already overloaded, as you said. So from our point of view, like there's a number of things we can be doing way earlier in men's lives, in different points in their lives. We know that, for example, changes in men's lives, like retirement, like those types of things have an impact on their mental health. We know this, there's evidence to show that. So what are we doing as a community to support men in these transitional times in their life? Becoming a father is a huge transitional point. All of these things, we know they have an impact on men's health. So there's more we can be doing earlier in the process. We also know that men there's a lot more that can be done in informal settings. So if we look at, we have a partnership that we run with the GAA, for example. We go into GAA clubs across the country, and we run these mental health fitness programs, which is really aimed not just at the young players. We work with under 14s typically, but we also train the parents, and we also train the coaches. So what that does is it says, okay, if you're a 35, 40-year-old guy, you're coaching this GAA team, you maybe didn't have the language to be able to understand how you felt, your teammates felt, or identify those things, but we can help you identify that in these young players, which also has a flip side effect on you, and you know how to have that conversation. So that's really where we're hopeful that there is work that can be done from great partners in the men's health sector, but also from government to say we can kind of avoid this avalanche if we work well at doing this way earlier in the process.
I think we have a huge role, which I think you may have hinted at, societally, to look out for each other, to converse, to care, not to be siloed, to talk. I know this seems like you talk about the earliest intervention. Well, you can spend 5 or 6 years bottling up a thought or a notional circular thinking or whatever it might be. But if you were to speak about that or felt that there was someone who could receive that info and talk it through, in many cases, you wouldn't get to the crisis point. So I never underestimate. In fact, I always highlight the fact that we have the power here as well. Movember, so is it about awareness? Is it about fundraising? Is it about this conversation now? Like, how do people get involved in Movember? I got a head start. I don't know what's going on. So tell us what's...
It's all those things. It's
Yeah.
all those things. So really, this is a long lead up. We call it the hairy season. So you're right in there. So for us, it's really about, yes, awareness. It's actually creating that moment to have that conversation as well as you just described. So like, it's giving people the open door with Movember, that you see a guy with a mustache and you know, like, look, this is the chance, even if it starts as a joke, to have a serious conversation. And it does work. It does happen. It is about fundraising for men's health. There's a lot of work that can be done, and we invest across the world and in Ireland on amazing programs like that GAA program as an example. We do a lot of investment in prostate cancer as well. But it's a bit of fun as well. And it is a way to sort of get together as a community and do something fun together and do some good.
Brilliant stuff. Sarah, thanks for so much of your time. I really do appreciate it. There's a website, of course, I imagine, and all the social resources if people want more info. Look after yourself. Thank you. That is Sarah Wallet there, who is Movember Country Manager, 086 60 25,000. Right, later on, we are going to be chatting to Mike Hearn from Hidden Hearing. He's going to be in studio taking any questions you might have in relation to hearing. So any questions in relation to hearing, it could be tinnitus or whatever it might be. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApp and text to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. So any questions in relation to your hearing, Mike Hearn from Hidden Hearing. So it could also be options for hearing assistance, hearing aids. You know, there's lots of different options out there now with technology. Blooming AI helping you hear even better. There's a ton of innovation in that area. And some of us, you know, are getting to the point where we might need hearing aids. Maybe we believe there's a stigma attached to them. I don't believe there is, and there shouldn't be. But a lot of people want very discreet. What are the options there, etc. So get your questions in. I don't want to sort of ask all the questions on your behalf, though I'll try. 086 60 25,000. A caller says, people underestimate the importance of getting their bloods done every 6 months, especially men of a certain age. Does that woman not know we have no health service in this country? Does she know you live as long as you can and die when you can't help it? And as for mental health, well, there's no mental health services here in Donegal, full stop. She does. She's there trying to make a difference. You know, she's trying to campaign with the government and with the agencies to improve services. That was quite clear in what she had to say. And she's trying to ask lads to, particularly lads, given the time we're talking about, to try and look after their health. You know, you can go into your chemist and get your blood pressure checked. You can check it at home, and you could be walking around, you know, 190 over 110 and not even know it. And next thing you know, pop, you're gone. But if you did check your blood pressure, then you could get a tablet that would regulate it, and you would have a better chance of not going pop and then you're gone. So I understand that your message is real, and some people would agree with what you're saying, but it catastrophizes the issue and then means that people who could get some simple intervention might not, because they don't think it's worthwhile. So go, you know, get your blood pressure checked. If you've got high blood pressure, take a tablet, increase your walking, whatever it might be. But we can't not have conversations like that, because your view of the health service, the mental health services is hopeless and helpless. But I know exactly where you're coming from, because we talk about that stuff on the program all of the time. But we can't discourage people by catastrophizing the entire space of men's health and what supports are there.
If you're aged 59 to 70, we will invite you for a free HSE bowel screening home test. Screening can help find signs of bowel cancer early, before any symptoms show, making it easier to treat.
Hey Sean, let's have a kickabout.
So Grace, let's go bowling.
Right Jack, let's get that pizza. And what about you? Yeah, you. Have you got an hour a week to spare? Big Brother, Big Sister volunteers around Ireland are supporting young people simply by hanging out, doing normal things and being a friend. It's that simple. Is this something you could do too? If you've been looking for more purpose in your week, find out more about volunteering at bigbrotherBigSister.ie. Come on, you'll be great. Proudly supported by Toyota.
Who's your local hero? Nominate someone who goes above and beyond. A coach, a teacher, a nurse, a volunteer, or anyone making a difference in your community. You could win a €100 Mabel gift voucher. Nominate now at your local Mabel store. Maple Stores, celebrating the heroes among us.
At FBD Insurance, we've been supporting businesses across Donegal, Sligo and beyond for over 50 years. Pop into your local insurance experts in the FBD branch on Main Street, Letterkenny, or contact us on 074 912 6299 and see how we can support your business today. Open from 9:30am to 5pm Monday to Friday. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Business insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9am until 5pm and on Saturdays from 9am until 3:30pm. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Do you live in Letterkenny or Ballybofey and have old gold or silver jewellery to sell? We will be at the Clanry Hotel Letterkenny today and Jackson's Hotel Ballybofey tomorrow between 1 and 6pm to buy your old and broken gold and silver jewellery. Any conditions bought, cash paid.
Don't delay when you get your bowel screening invitation. Call us today on 1800 45 45 55 or visit bowelscreen.ie. From the HSE.
Just an hour and 18 minutes to the close of nominations in the presidential election, and we're being told by those very active in Maria Steen's campaign that she needs a miracle now. She's too short, and it looks like she's not going to make it. But though, as the person said, miracles do happen. Another person who won't be featuring on the ballot paper is Peter Casey. Peter, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. Did your candidacy, did your campaign ever really catch fire? We're in a different world now, I think, compared to when you last managed to get a nomination.
Well, I had a few personal challenges this time, Greg. My daughter was getting married 3 days ago in Atlanta. So
congratulations.
We had it was a fantastic wedding. So a lot of stuff was going on in my life, so it just timing was not good for me this time around. You know.
Yeah, I didn't really hear your name much, and that explains it a bit. You know, life has a way of getting in the way of our ambitions as well. But overall, you know, as I referenced Maria Steen's struggles there in getting onto the ballot paper, it looks very much likely that we're going to have the left, including Sinn Féin, back in Connolly, of course, Fine Gael with their candidate, Fianna Fáil with theirs, and it's going to be, you know, that's pretty much the choice. Do you think that's democratic? Do you think the system needs to change?
You know, it really was just political parties decided that, you know, it was the who they were going to nominate, as they always do, you know, and it's such a farce, you know. For example, you know, a lot of the county councils had their elections on the same day, you know, their presentations on the same day. So it was impossible for people to physically get to the different meetings. Last time I actually hired a helicopter to fly around, you know. I mean, it's nonsense that you physically have to be there, especially after COVID. I mean, everybody knows that you know, why should you have to physically be able to be at a county council meeting to present? You know, we lived through COVID. We were able to get by and have virtual presentations and virtual decision making, but the political parties decided that you know, you had to physically be there to do a presentation.
In fairness, and I know that's about getting on the ballot paper, but you know, you'll see Jim Gavin, he's all over the place down at the plough and left, right and centre. Catherine Connolly's been all over the shop as well. You know, they're putting in the legwork. Is it fair that you could sit in an office somewhere, you know, even maybe in a different country?
Physically, Greg, stop. You physically cannot be in two places at one time, right? You know, I mean, last time I actually hired a helicopter to get around, right? But not everyone can afford to hire helicopters. So and we've had 7 years to get the councils have been able to make their decisions for the last 3 or 4, 5, 6 months, and they left it all to the same day, and you had 12 of the councils and 16 of the councils asking candidates to be at the same place at the same time.
But that being said, and because maybe the political makeup of the councils, most of the time they opted not to back anyone.
But that's disgraceful. The whole one of the important. My whole platform was to give the power back to the county councils. In other words, there's 949 councillors. The president has got 3 unique powers: refer legislation for adjudication. He can decide to refuse to accept the resignation of the Taoiseach, and he can also give a pardon to any person for any crime. And my whole position was I was going to delegate the power of the president to the county councils and say, there you are, you decide, you confidentially vote as to whether I exercise those 3 unique powers, and I'm quite frankly saddened and depressed by the whole thing. It's such a shambles. Ireland is going to hell in a handbasket, and our culture's been eroded. We're being overrun by legal migrants from Europe and illegal migrants from Asia and Africa. And by the way, we absolutely need more people in Ireland. As you know, we have a migrant crisis in Ireland, in Donegal, and we need people. And Ireland can afford to accommodate more people. We absolutely can. We had 10 million people in Ireland 200 years ago. And
so what's your point there? You're saying that the country's being overrun, but you're also saying that we need more people and accommodate more people.
We need people that want to put their shoulder to the wheel. We need people who want to contribute, people who are going
Most
to work
people
hard.
come in here on work visas, though, Peter.
But we want people who are... In Australia, for example, they have a quota system, but they give you so many points for if you've got the skill sets that we need. And if you're under 30, you get more points. And we need to be selective. We're the best country in the world, and we're not being selective.
That being said, Australia is on the brink with the rise of sort of more right-leaning parties who are on the brink of severely restricting visas.
You're talking nonsense, Greg. We're not on the right.
No,
we're just
listen to me,
sensible.
Pete. Listen.
We're
I'm
being
saying
sensible.
no. Listen.
We need to be selective.
I don't think you heard what I said. I said politically. You talked of the Australian situation. It says politically at the moment, like in most countries, there is a rise in right-leaning policies.
It's not right. It's sensible.
Listen.
Can
I just finish the point, Peter? I'm saying, they are self-described as being conservative or right, but they're looking to further restrict people's ability to go in and work in Australia. That's the only point I was trying to make, and it's fact.
Okay, look, we need to be selective as to who we let into the country. We need to be, we're the best country in the world, and we need to be selective as to who we let into our country. And if you disagree with that, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
We absolutely need to be.
But you are very sympathetic to the plight to the Ukrainian people. You're prepared to provide accommodation for them. So obviously you're not grouping them in diluting the culture of the country.
You're mixing up different arguments here. One was Putin was going to try and take over the control of the world's food supply by, if he'd taken over Ukraine, he wasn't stopping at Ukraine. He was going to go on down to, and try and, free up. He was not stopping at Ukraine. And if Putin had been successful in taking over Ukraine, he would have ended up controlling 60% of the world's wheat supply. So that was, I just felt so passionate. I actually got on a plane and flew to Warsaw and tried to get into Ukraine to volunteer, and they wouldn't let me in because I was too old. So
volunteer in what way? Like on the ground or take up arms?
Pardon?
Like, were you going to volunteer sort of...
Absolutely. I got on a plane and flew to Warsaw.
But were you not to go on the front line, though?
I would have done anything, whether it be drive an ambulance or whatever, that's how passionate I felt about it.
Okay.
And I just really feel that we couldn't let Putin take over. and my wife wasn't very happy with the idea.
Okay.
But
so listen, the bottom line is that the party seemed to have it sewn up, even to sort of block the local authority routes. Donegal couldn't muster 5 people to call a meeting.
Disgraceful.
For Tuesday.
Donegal, I'm so ashamed that the councillors in Donegal wouldn't even get together to do it. It's such a disgrace that the councillors in Donegal wouldn't even get together to do a vote. It's embarrassing to be from Donegal, to be honest. But
if I was an elected councillor, I would have been interested in engaging in the democracy process, even if I chose to abstain or voted, to frustrate the process or whatever. But I think I would have been. I think it's a great gift. It's an honour to have that kind of influence, and I think if I was an elected rep, I would have wanted to be a part of that. But maybe there's something political happening that I am ignorant to. But anyway, it's not going to happen.
It's such a shameful disgrace that the councillors in Donegal didn't even
What
get
now
together
for you then politically? I mean, obviously you're very frustrated with the presidential process. Is that you finished with elective politics now? Just put your feet up.
Well, my wife said, Greg, she said I should I should have retired for health reasons, because she was going to kill me if I stood. She said she'd make it look like a heart attack.
She sounds serious. Anyway, okay, well, I'm sure she won't. Right, okay, I get the frustration. I understand where you're coming from. Your reaction to the fact that Maria Steen, I'm not even sure where you are at in terms of the commonality or the overlap in what you feel and what she feels about certain things. Your reaction to the fact that she looks like she's going to be 1 or 2 short, that she's not going to make it onto the ballot paper, bar a miracle, according to her supporters.
Very disappointed, very disappointed. I would have loved to have seen her get on the ballot, and it's just, I just don't understand how some of these members of the Oakers can't just step aside and put their, show their principles and put their heart out there. And she absolutely should be on the ballot. It's depressing for Ireland.
All right, go and have a whiskey, Peter, will you?
It's too early.
Okay. All right, look after yourself. Take care. Thanks very much. Peter Casey there, who is obviously was seeking to be a presidential candidate. He certainly isn't going to be now, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race. It is 3, isn't it, Caroline? Am I missing anyone? It's 3, isn't it? It's Ms. Connolly, Mr. Gavin, and yes, exactly right. Back after these.
Hey, look what Mum got at the supermarket.
I can't cook that. It's fish.
Shh. It's easy, Dad. Hake is handy in the pan. Trout is perfect in a tray bake. Even mussels are ready in minutes.
But timing, the temperature, it's frightening. It's fish.
Shh. Give it a go. It's healthy and tasty too.
Don't be scared of seafood. Pick up some today for a dinner that's
surprisingly easy to cook.
Find meal inspiration at boardbia.ie.
Find me somebody to love.
The Dream Stock clearance sale is now on. I bet you beds are excited.
Oh yeah, we're bouncing.
Don't miss up to 30% off a range of stylish beds and comfy mattresses.
But don't hang about. You snooze, you lose.
Dreams. Let us find you a bed that loves you back.
And we're back with a dinner option that will not disappoint. Discover Centra Simple Savers. Like inspired by Centra Beef Quick Fry Steaks 360 grams €6. Centra 6 Pitter Breads only €1. And Corona 12 bottle pack €16. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Vibrant Glasgow awaits. Fly easily from Donegal Airport with Loganair. Book your tickets now at loganair.co.uk and explore all that Glasgow has to offer. Enjoy convenient travel from Donegal to Glasgow with Loganair.
Your wedding day deserves a setting as breathtaking as your love story. At Harvey's Point in Donegal, say I do on the sparkling shores of Loch Esk, framed by the majestic Blue Stack Mountains. From romantic outdoor ceremonies to elegant receptions in our grand ballroom, every moment is designed with love and delivered with 5-star care. Harvey's Point. Love at first sight. True love forever. Start your journey with a personal viewing. Visit harveyspoint.com. Your forever begins here.
With TUI, there's more choice than you think. Beach days or a city break. Weekend in Rome? Booked. Fly from your local airport? Of course. Just a hotel? Got them too. Number of nights? Take your pick. Tailor your trip with more options and more choice. TUI. Live happy.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Interesting line there that I hadn't heard from Peter Casey before, that he went to Warsaw and wanted to join the Ukraine's defense of its nation from Russia. Interesting. Right, today is going to be pretty bright. There's a very slight chance of a shower. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. Though this evening we might see cloudier conditions developing with patchy light rain and drizzle. So there you go. That's most likely later on in the day. Okay, you tuned to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. This morning, Mike Hearn from Hidden Hearing will join me in studio. He's taking your questions in relation to hearing aids, any devices like that, any issues you might have. Now's your chance to get your comment into us. 086 60 25,000. We'll get those questions to Mike. Chris is going to join us with sport. So much more besides after we take a break for the news.
Na cuoine rointe sin ile, na cultacha ciana, ardán rointe comórtas árán na hóra físe, círóg a bháin agus círóg eile, tása go tain. Sin go dtí gin duine go bhfuh go bhíota go ná ailí bith fearras gáis Yeshu, agus go scristar an dáibh sin go deo. Bhí mar a lig sa chás sin trá. Nach raibh? Ní raibh. Go má. Úsáid sitálaí gáis chlártha i gcónaí nó diatá gachrád a chur a máil. Aimsigh sitálaí ag rgi.ie.
The sofa and mattress sale ends this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture. If you're searching for a stylish new sofa or a more restful night's sleep, look no further. We have a wide selection of sofas and mattresses with huge reductions across both ranges. Speak to our furniture experts in store today to find the pieces of your dreams at unbeatable prices. The sofa sale ends this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Lake Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Sometimes getting older is a good thing. Take a fine cheese. With steady planning, careful preparation and trusted guidance, at every stage of the process, it matures. At Standard Life, we believe in a similar approach when planning for retirement. Because when you do, things get better with age. Search Retirement Hub or talk to your financial advisor today. Standard Life International DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 9139941 or visit doortech.ie.
At Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, we're proud to offer expert care in crowns and bridge work through our skilled team, Drs. Tang and Wazik. Whether you need to restore strength, structure, or enhance your smile's appearance, Blue Poppy delivers high-quality, tailored solutions that put your comfort and confidence first. Call us on 074 9120355 or book online at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town, where your smile finds its strength.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera, which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And it's great to have you listening. Thanks so very much indeed. Stay with us. Another interesting hour on the way. I hope you will agree. Let's get the news headlines at 11 o'clock now and say good morning once again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning.
Properties in the vicinity of Lettermack Ward are experiencing water outages this morning due to an issue at the local water treatment plant. Ishgaren has stated that crews are working to resolve the issue and hope to have it complete by 5 o'clock on Friday evening. In the meantime, an alternative water supply will be made available at Lettermack Ward Chapel from midday today until 6 p.m. on Friday. Customers are reminded to use their own containers when taking water from the tanker and as a precaution to boil it. The trial of Soldier F is continuing in Belfast today. The former British paratrooper is accused of 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Derry in 1972. He has pleaded not guilty. A judge will rule today on whether to admit what has been described as divisive evidence to the trial proceedings. The Dáil has been told that the defective concrete scandal is a national emergency, which the government has willfully mismanaged for over a decade. Donegal Deputy Charles Ward told the Dáil 40% of impacted homeowners are living with severe depression, while the government continues to claim people are being looked after. The truth, he said, is that we're now on a second failed scheme. Ryanair has confirmed it will switch to 100% digital boarding passes from November 12th. Passengers will no longer be able to print paper passes and must instead use the digital version available through the My Ryanair app. The airline says the change comes after the busy mid-term break to ensure a smooth transition. And finally, yesterday the Coalition for Better Alcohol Policy gave an Oireachtas briefing to elected members, urging them to name alcohol as a priority in the new National Drug Strategy currently being developed by the Department of Health. CEO of Alcohol Forum Ireland, a charity based in Donegal, says the briefing gave them the opportunity to present real-life stories of those who bear the burden of alcohol harm. Paula Leonard says they now hope to sit in a Health Oireachtas committee as a means to enforce those changes. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 12 noon.
Thanks, Donna Marie.
You saw it. It was just a moment, but you saw how her smile fell. Her words slipped, slurred, but straightened again. She said she was fine. So you waited. But a stroke doesn't wait. You don't need all the signs. One is enough. Remember FAST. Face, arms, speech, time. The second you suspect a stroke is the second you dial 999 or 112. Search HSE stroke for more from the HSE.
Welcome back. So it is an hour out now before we have the close of nominations, and there are only 3 candidates, and it looks like there will only be 3 candidates because Maria Steen requires effectively a government party member, senator or TD breaking ranks to facilitate her candidacy. That's unlikely to happen because, of course, that would mean that they would instantly lose the party whip. So it looks like it's going to be the smallest field in a presidential election since 1990. If I could just actually get in behind. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. The smallest field in a professional election since 1990. Independent, Catherine Connolly, Jim Gavin and Heather Humphreys. That's not confirmed, but it is actually at this point going to be. It's going to take a miracle. On this morning's Wellness Wednesday, we're focusing on a crucial yet often overlooked aspect of our overall well-being: hearing health. Mike Hearn is audiologist with Hidden Hearing. Is with me now. Hi, Mike.
Good morning, Greg.
Hearing is so important to us. Any of our senses are.
Yeah.
It's a critical sense, isn't it? It's how we interact. We're social beings, isn't it? You know, it's how we interact, not just with, our surroundings, with TVs, but with each other.
Very much so. I mean, when you lose your hearing, you're not interacting with inanimate objects. You're losing your connection with people. Like it causes a strain on relationships. Husbands, wives, if one of them can't hear the other properly, that they wind up kind of maybe bickering and not communicating. You think of people with their grandchildren, if they can't interact with their grandchildren, if they're not sure what's being said to them properly. It creates a lot of trouble in relationships.
Yeah, for sure. With vision, and maybe this is not the case, but with vision, you seem to get people that will go and get some sort of an intervention sooner. So as soon as they're struggling to read a little bit, or as soon as the writing's a little blurred, I think most people seem to go and get their eyes checked and get a pair of glasses that suits, whether it's for close-up reading, far away stuff, or what have you. And that's sort of ingrained from a very early age. Yet our hearing is also an equally, or maybe not for everyone, but it's a very important sense. But it seems to be we don't heed the signs and we just wait till a critical point.
Well,
is that true?
A little bit, Greg, but thankfully I think that's changing now. I mean, certainly in the past. So, like,
I know at least 5 people need to go and get their hearing checked today.
You're looking out the window.
No,
not
here. But I know 5 people around me that need to go and get their hearing checked today.
Yeah.
Like the truth be told.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is putting them off?
I think people just batter on. My dad got really, really good at bluffing, you could hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd swear he could hear you.
People do.
He also became quite proficient at lip reading.
Yeah.
And he just managed, but he might be the exception rather than the rule. His life was greatly, so much more improved when he got hearing aids. I'm just saying there's that period of time, But anyway, sorry, I'm sort of personal experiences, which not reflective.
That's really, really true. People can kind of build coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms. If you're meeting Mary down the road that you pass every day, you'll say, "Oh, isn't the weather great today?" or "Isn't the weather bad?" Like you can kind of steer the conversation in a certain direction where you're almost expecting the answer. So people will certainly do things like that to try and hide their loss.
And I suppose I'm kind of jumping from hearing loss straight to, say, for instance, getting a hearing aid. But there's an awful lot of interventions, isn't there? Like earwax or what have you. You know what I mean? So. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if somebody's having bother with the hearing, it may not necessarily be that they need a hearing aid. It could, as you said, quite simply be a wax blockage, There's also what's called a conductive hearing loss, where it's not necessarily a hearing aid is the answer, but there may be some medical intervention, as in an operation, procedure, medication, something along those lines. But I suppose if somebody doesn't come in and see someone like myself initially, we won't know what the problem is.
Yeah, a survey by Hidden Hearing showed 4 in 10 Irish adults have needed professional earwax removal, but many still suffer in silence. And I think it's the ones that I'm referencing that are suffering in silence.
Yeah, it's incredible to me that people will put it off, that they'll actually, people will come in finally when they're ready to see you and they say, "Oh, I've had this pain in the ear for quite a while," and immediately I'm alarmed because pain in the ear isn't good, but then when you look in and you see it's just simply wax, you wonder why they didn't come in and do something about it sooner.
A lot of people use buds in their ears. You see them, jamming them in and rotating them, and they use them on themselves, they use them on their kids. Is that an effective way to look after your ears?
Absolutely not. It's the worst thing in the world you could actually do to your ears. Yeah. Okay. So all you're doing is you're simply pushing the wax in further. That's it. And in when somebody's overly enthusiastic with the cotton bud, they might actually damage the eardrum too, which would be absolutely horrendous because that leads to all kind of other problems.
So how do you look after your kids' ears or your own ears then? Just your day-to-day maintenance?
Well, kids, I have a 6-year-old myself. I can see sometimes when I look, I'll see the wax literally coming out the side of the ear, but it doesn't worry me. That's natural in kids, unless they were telling you that they couldn't hear or, something like that.
So aesthetically, you might sort of clean around the outer part of the ear?
But I wouldn't go near not with children.
Is that because nature will look after it? Or?
So the skin on the ear canal, the skin grows out. It grows out about the same rate the fingernails grow. So the ear is actually quite good at cleaning itself and looking after itself.
Explain that to me again.
So
what's growing?
So the wax is secreted through the side of the ear canal.
Okay.
It's slightly acidic, so it helps to prevent against bacteria and infections. But the other function of the wax is a foreign body. So imagine, for example, like a fly got into the ear, something like that. Now, there's skin on the ear canal, and the skin grows out, and it should bring the wax and anything else that's there with it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you see at least some of what's on the outside of the ear is nature's way of shedding, of clearing the ear.
You're delighted. If the wax is coming out, you're quite happy. Yeah.
Okay, so that means their ears are functioning very well, then, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Adults then, though. How should adults clean their ears? Is it the same rules that might apply to your 6-year-old?
Exactly, yeah. I certainly steer clear of cotton buds, anything like that. If you do feel that, you think you might have wax in the ear, you'll get solutions from the chemist over the counter, normally like a natural olive oil spray, something like that.
It'll soften what's there really
It'll soften what's there, and then the skin is growing out, so it should bring the wax there with it,
Okay, interesting. If you have any questions for Mike, get in touch with us. Could hearing loss be caused by aging, noise exposure, or something else? I suppose it's all
of the above and more, Age would be the most common, followed by environmental, so lads that work loud noise machinery. Obviously in Donegal you're going to see a lot of lads that worked in tunnels, that kind of thing, so they all have horrific hearing losses normally. But quite often it's hereditary too. I mean, that's how I became interested in this field. I mean, it's something that runs in our family. I mean, my mum wore hearing aids from like late 40s on.
What's happening there that's causing the hearing sort of in a genetic sense to disimprove?
Bad luck.
Yeah,
I mean,
but like our hair's dying off, or what reciprocals?
Yes, yeah. So it's the cochlea, the inner ear. And when you're young and the ear is healthy, you normally have about 35,000 little hairs called cilia. They're in the fluid. They dance back and forth, and they convert the sound wave from a mechanical energy into an electrical impulse. So it runs up the acoustic nerve to the brain, and that's how we hear. As we age, those hairs die off anyway. And for people that work loud noise machinery, they're damaging the hairs more quickly.
I DJ'd for 10 years or so, and I favoured my right ear for queuing tracks.
Okay.
Now, the hearing is fine, and I'm not just self-diagnosing. I did actually on this occasion have it checked, but it is slightly worse than the other, so I can see very clearly myself
how it made a difference.
And that was for a couple hours once or twice a week. Yeah. So if you're in that environment all of the time in stereo, how we hear, sorry, before we get on, how we hear is quite interesting. And we see that in this space an awful lot. So say someone comes in as a student or what have you, and we ask them to record their voice, and their voice that they hear played back to them seems very unfamiliar to them. We hear in a different way. We're not hearing necessarily our voice going out into the world and then in through our ears.
No. When you speak, you hear yourself in a very unique way. You hear yourself through air conduction, where the sound waves are coming back in through the ear canal. But when you speak, you're actually vibrating the cochlea directly. So there's an element of when you speak yourself, how you hear yourself is through the bone conduction. It's why, if you hear yourself on an answering machine tape recorder, your voice sounds so different to you. It's alien.
Do I have hearing loss, or is it just earwax temporary blockage? It's one of those, isn't it? That's why we're encouraging people to go and get your ears checked.
No different than the previous segment you had on. I mean, if somebody hasn't come in, you can't really tell what the problem is, you know?
Okay, so in the first instance, obviously, you assess someone's hearing, you determine whether, their wax is required or if other intervention is required. And then we get to sort of hearing aids. And it's been really quite interesting to sort of see Apple sort of, dip their toe into this market, whether or not it's welcome or not. But they, any of the companies, JBL, Bose, Apple, that are sort of working with sound to sort of taking an interest in this. My point being is that it's a great space of innovation in terms of hearing aids.
Very much so. I suppose the thing with Apple is it's great that you can do that little 4-minute hearing test on the phone yourself at home. And, one of the things we mentioned at the start was people, for some reason, are very put off by maybe coming in initially. So this could be great. This could maybe get them into kind of actually checking their hearing, realising they have a hearing loss.
But they're also proposing to have a system whereby with the earbuds that they work as hearing aids effectively. I don't think that's really a fantastic solution, personally, because do you really want to walk around with two white things hanging out of your ears? But again, if you've got big companies working in that space, for more traditional hearing aids, it's going to help. So where are we at technically, sort of outside of what any of those companies might be, as to what's available for people?
On the market at present?
Yeah, the options that you can give people in terms of hearing aids.
Well, I suppose there's two main kinds. The first would be what we call an in-the-ear, which is maybe the traditional, where it actually fits into the ear, there's nothing behind the ear. Works very well for some losses. It's nice and secure when it's in the ear, it's discreet. About 90% of the market now would actually go for what we call a receiver in the ear, the kind of over-the-ear ones that you would see people wear. It's far more comfortable to wear something like that.
So is that whereby some of it's behind the ear?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And like I've noticed now, the bit behind the ear is tiny. Back in the day, it used to be, it would almost actually have the ear sitting out a little. But that was the technology of the time. Now it is pretty discreet.
Incredibly so. Yeah. I mean, especially for women, I always feel when there's a woman sitting in front of me, and generally speaking, after you've done the hearing test and you have a hearing aid on and you're showing them how it works, they normally ask for a mirror. They still want to see how it looks. And they're quite amazed that they can't actually see anything, you know?
Is there something in that? Because I referenced eyes earlier on, and well, we make almost a fashion accessory of glasses, and people sometimes will wear glasses with clear lenses in them. But I know, and again, I can sort of reflect on my family in that there was a bit of a resistance to hearing aids, or people knowing someone had a hearing aid. I don't understand that. I can empathise with it, right? But why are we so pernickety about sort of letting people know we might be using hearing aids, or are we?
I think it's changing, Greg.
I hope so, because there's no need to people to be bothered.
Like maybe 15, 16 years ago when I started, we didn't generally tend to see people under the age of 70. You know, that was the market. But that's completely changed now. I mean, if somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, if they know they have a hearing loss and if they know that there's something will help, they are more inclined to come in and do something about it.
Cost is going to be a barrier for some.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what is the range there? Because, I mean, you can have ones that are connected to your phone, can't you, that have Bluetooth and all this type of stuff. And then there are... So entry level, effective, a good hearing aid that will greatly improve someone's quality of life. Is there a starting point, or...
Well, I mean, if you have PRSI stamps, they're actually available from free now. Your PRSI will actually cover the entire cost of the hearing aid. They go up then, depending on... there isn't kind of one solution fits all. It really depends on the individual's hearing loss, their lifestyle, what they expect from the hearing aid. So, I mean, maybe someone in their 80s and they have 1 or 2 visitors a day and they're normally in a quiet environment, they're not going to require something as sophisticated as maybe somebody who's still working in a busy office or maybe a hospital setting or something like that, you know?
So is there a certain amount that PRSI will cover, but you could top up to you could say, right, well, I'm going to put this amount because this is the actual item I'd prefer?
Absolutely. So the PRSI grant, if it's available, will cover €500 per ear. So €1,000 if you're talking about 2 hearing aids. As well, if somebody's still working or if they're paying income tax, the hearing aids class is a medical device and they can claim tax relief as well.
All right. And in terms of getting used to a hearing aid, your brain does have to do, not rewiring as such, but a little bit of getting used to. Is that across the board or just in the cases that I've experienced?
No, I think for everyone that comes into me, there's an adjustment period. So generally speaking, what we would normally do is wouldn't put the hearing aid up to kind of the full at the start. You put someone in what you call a beginner program. So it's maybe not quite as loud as the computer feels it should be for their hearing loss, but the idea is to kind of bring them in gradually and kind of bring them up slowly, maybe over the course of a month or so, Greg. And generally speaking, if you do it like that, you're far more likely to have a successful outcome. Okay,
let me see. Should I be worried about dizziness, balance issues, or ear pain? That's one of those ones. Is that
absolutely?
You could go in and get that checked in.
Yeah. Now, it may be something as simple as a wax blockage. If you are badly blocked with wax, you will experience some ear pain.
Because our ears are critical to balance, aren't they?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay. And you can determine that, and it could be your first protocol, and then you can say, hold on, this is something that might need something else. Tinnitus. How big of a problem is tinnitus? I know it's a massive problem if people have it, but how common is it? How often do you see people presenting with tinnitus? And is there anything really can be done for it?
Probably roughly maybe half the people that come into me would have some degree of tinnitus, you know. It tends to go hand in hand with hearing loss, but you can certainly have tinnitus without a hearing loss, and you can certainly have hearing loss and no tinnitus.
Is it because how we hear when there's less other noise that the tinnitus noise becomes more prevalent? Is there something to that?
A little bit. Like most of the people with tinnitus, Greg, they'll tell you that they may not notice it during the day if they're busy, they're at work, they're doing things. It's when the house is quiet or when they're trying to sleep at night. Now, there's very, very good apps available now, and they'll be like the sound of the ocean, rainfall, something like that. And some people find those a great relief. The other advice you kind of give people is not to sit in the quiet. If you come home from work and you have tinnitus and you're sitting in the quiet, the tinnitus is bad, put on the radio, put on the TV, something like that. Not even that you're listening to it. You're just trying to confuse the brain and give the brain something else to concentrate on.
Hearing, I think, is like, or issues with the ear. Sorry, it could be pain, the dizziness, whatever it might be. The earlier the intervention, it's always better, isn't it? Rather than to wait, it's like, oh my God, does anyone know if there's an ear specialist open?
Absolutely. I mean, as soon as you notice something like that, it's common sense. Go and get checked straight away.
Yeah. 1 in 5 people say they hate the thought of earwax. Is it? Or going to get something done. This is the hidden hearing.
Oh yeah,
the hidden hearing review. Why?
I don't. It's a natural. It's there to protect the ear. You know. I suppose maybe if you put your finger in your ear a little bit and you take out some and you look at it, it may not be the most attractive looking substance, but it's vital and it does a really good job of looking after the ear.
But in terms of sort of earwax removal, if we get to that point, there's very few things that take a little amount of time that can have such a dramatic impact, like walking in one way, walking out another way.
Oh yeah, God, like someone comes in, they're only maybe 20 minutes in and it might have been affecting their hearing, their balance, they could have been in pain, discomfort. Yeah, I mean, to me it's why wouldn't you?
This is for my own curiosity. Like, in one of the worst case scenarios, how much wax can be dislodged from an ear?
So think of the circumference of your ear canal and maybe half an inch, something like that in a bad, like the wax. If somebody lets it go quite a long time and they know they're black, now this person will know because they'll be experiencing hearing loss, discomfort, but sometimes it can be quite bad.
And in terms of satisfied customers, 8 out of 10 people, 8 out of 10 people are satisfied with their treatment. Nearly half very satisfied. So that's not bad, is it?
Not at all.
It's okay. So what's your advice to people? Any concerns about hearing, or maybe a loved one who is a bit resistant? I don't know whether it could be about earwax removal or just getting their ears checked and seeing what options are available to them, or discussing maybe hearing aid options and the price structure of such. Like, can people just call up, or what's the story?
Yeah, phone, get an appointment. I mean, we don't charge for hearing tests. We don't charge for a consultation, so it's going to cost you nothing. You can come in, we can have a look, establish. You may not even need a hearing aid. It could be wax. We may need a medical intervention. We may be referring you back to your GP or onto the ENT, So, but unless you come in initially, nobody's going to know.
A caller says, have you any suggestions for tinnitus? I've had a diagnosis of high tone deafness for years, which brings many issues with it. I had many tests done, but no solutions. How much will it impact my ears if I use my less dominant LHS ear later on with listening to radio via earbuds? I had it checked when in the doctors and was okay, but we'll still keep an eye on it.
I don't particularly like earbuds. If somebody's going to be listening to music on a regular basis, I much prefer an over-the-ear headphone. I think it's much better for you. And the golden rule, of course, is 60% of the volume, not to have the volume up full, and maybe for 60 minutes at a time, and then to take a break.
Yeah. I'm glad, actually. I do agree with you. There seems to be a resurgence in over-the-ear headphones, which is, I think, good. Is there a cause for tinnitus? I know we talked about tinnitus, lots of messages coming in, and is there a cure for it?
No cure as such, just those coping mechanisms we spoke about. I mean, it's such a grey area. You even think about the definition of tinnitus. It's hearing a sound where no sound exists, so how do you explain that one?
Of course, it is a very complex area, no doubt at all. Could a teenager with pressure-like headaches probably... Greg, can you ask the audiologist, could a teenager with pressure-like headaches possibly have problems with earwax?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, simple as that.
Pop into the nurse, pop into the doctor,
and you can have a look. And you and your team. It's very clear, very, very quickly what's going on.
Oh, we actually have like a video otoscope, so we actually hold it up to the edge of the ear canal. It comes up on a big screen, and you'll actually get to see for yourself.
If you want.
If you like to have a look. Some people look away.
But it's one of those spaces where you go and get it checked. It's free to get your hearing checked, get a consultation, and why suffer when there's something that potentially could be easily remedied. Hidden Hearing, where are you located? If people want
we're on McCall House on the Pierce Road, just kind of near McGinley's garage.
Great stuff. Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you calling in. That's Mike Hearn, audiologist with Hidden Hearing.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
For 25 years, the Citizens Information Board has been your trusted source for clear and reliable information on rights and entitlements. As times have changed, so have we, making sure you always have access to unbiased information. So if you're wondering where to turn for information on your rights and entitlements, we're your free and reliable source. For more, go to citizensinformation.ie. Citizens Information Board, a trusted source for 25 years.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Members of the public are also reminded that the burning of domestic, industrial, agricultural and construction waste is an offence under the Waste Management Act 1996. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time's 27 minutes past 11, 32 minutes before the close of nominations, and Barrister Maria Steen, her efforts to become a presidential candidate look to have stalled. She remains 2 names short to get on the ballot paper. I don't have a particular interest in Miss Steen's campaign. It's just to keep you updated as the deadline looms. So 3 candidates at the moment. And as I say, she's going to have to really pull a rabbit or 2 out of the hat to get her name on the ballot there. It is Wednesday, which means Chris Ashmore's with me. Christopher, how art thou?
Thou is very good, thank you.
Good. Let's get to some news before we talk about the Business Matter podcast. Wow, a lot of .ie names have been registered.
Yes.
Or been about for a while at least.
We have heard of .ie, of course, the national registry. Now more than 330,000 domain names. So it's shown how things have developed over the years. And just if you go back to the turn of the century, there were just 20,000 .ie domains registered. So we've gone from 20,000 to
I don't know what that means.
330,000. Well, these are people who have websites and businesses and individuals. And
are there that many businesses in that space? Or...
Well, don't forget, some of them may have expired.
Yeah, of course,
so, and then other ones, they could have multiple domains. There could be a .com.
It's still a big number, given
it's a big number, exactly. And just the domain registry.ie, they've issued a report coinciding with 25 years. And one of the things that they've noted that household internet access back in the year 2000 was 20.5%, and we're now 94%. So pretty much heading towards everybody.
I think that's statistically everyone really, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's always going to be a certain amount who just aren't going to have it and have no interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's huge, isn't it? Talk about advances. Advancing is Donegal ETB in terms of the facilities they have available to apprentices.
Yes, continued investment in a number of areas of apprenticeship, and of course vital for bringing in new skilled labour in certain sectors, and they've secured funding to upgrade their mechanics apprenticeship facilities. They have a great setup out in the training centre there in Ballyrain. It's very much in demand, and this means that, of course, with electric vehicles coming in and the emissions and everything, that they have the most up-to-date equipment for that. So that's positive. And they're actually liaising very much with people in the motor industry, and they have a gathering of people there next Monday just to inform them more about it.
People might note that we talk an awful lot about scams and security of homes and all that type of stuff, and the reason we do so is, you know, it's one of the biggest areas of crime out there today. People aren't necessarily smashing your door down to rip you off or sticking their hand in your pocket in the street. Every single day across this county and across the region and across the country, people are losing personal information, lots and lots of money, etc. So I'm not surprised and welcome the fact that we're going to see some workshops in this general space coming up, Chris.
Yes, these workshops have been going for, well, a couple of weeks, in fact. It was all part of an event to mark International Literacy Day. And the Donegal County Library, and along with the ETV, have been holding a number of 1-hour workshops around the country in local libraries. There's one on, actually, as we speak, in the Twin Towns Library. Just one more next week. That's in Ballyshannon Library. The topic is security scams and smartphones. And there's advice there for people who want to find out more. And just on it, I actually got a call yesterday with an 087 number from somebody who said they were from Revolut. So, I mean, I knew instantly.
The number cloning is a problem. I still direct an awful lot of the blame towards phone companies. I think they could employ technology to do more to protect us. Right, now a local TCS team are up for a very prestigious award, potentially.
Yes, now Tata Consultancy Services, who have a big base here in Letterkenny, they call it their Global Delivery Centre. They've been involved in a competition with tech companies. There's very much an AI input to this. It was a project that they had to overcome a challenge. They were set tasks, and their solution was called Project Aura, the AI native universally accessible browser. Now, just to cut a long story short, they are through to the final of this competition. Now, there were over 500 participants nationwide, and there was a number of regional events. So just, you know, it's more recognition. So good to see that they're at the forefront of things there. And we wish them the best in that final, which is in Galway.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll keep an eye on that and bring us any news from it. Okay, we'll have more from Chris after the break.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
Do you think about your legacy and what you want to leave behind? You know, I've had a great life. My childhood was filled with love and support. But not every child is that fortunate. Many face poverty and adversity on a daily basis. So I'm leaving Bernardo's Ireland a gift in my will to pass on the chance of a brighter future to these children. Visit bernardos.ie/pass it on to get involved and make a difference.
Friday, October 24th is polling day in Ireland's presidential election. So find out about the candidates and be ready to make your choice. Your vote is your voice. So don't let others speak for you. Mark the date or set a reminder and be a voter on October 24th. From An Comisiún Tábháin, Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission.
You want a little treat but not chocolate or gelato? Check out this coffee that we made called Bravado. Sit and sip it slowly, or if you're in a rush, it tastes as good on foot or while you wait for the bus. Deliciously different. Get your new favorite cup. If you want some roasted goodness, come hit us up. Your taste buds have voted. They want a flavor that's goated. They are ready to thrive. Now Bravado's arrived. Deliciously different. Find your nearest store at bravado.com.
Little Blue Heroes are coming to Tropical World. Come along, support our charity day on the 27th of September. All entrance fees will go to support the Little Blue Heroes Foundation. Tropical World at Alcorn's Letterkenny, Saturday the 27th of September.
Louis Walsh Opticians in the Courtyard Letterkenny are seeking an optical sales assistant. Previous experience is preferred, but full training will be given. Apply with your CV to admin@inisheyecare.ie.
The backers of Maria Steen are conceding that she's out of the presidential race. Ronan Mullen, Senator Roland Mullen, he's senator, isn't he? Senator Roland Mullen, he's a senator. He was one of those pushing to get her on the ballot. He's conceded at this point that she is not going to make it. She had an appointment with the returning officer, I presume we would call them, for 11 o'clock. And that time has passed, of course, and she was 2 names short. So it looks like if you were looking to vote for Maria Steen, you will not. And as I say, just to clarify, I'm only keeping you up to date with that one particular story that's emerging this morning. It's not a Maria Steen campaign or anything. Chris, before we get to the podcast, which is going to be live for people tomorrow, some further news in the restaurant sector? Yes. 1 second, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Greg, if you have booked your place at one of the tables for the prestigious Food and Wine Restaurant of the Year Awards.
Where are they taking place?
They're taking place in the Shelburne Hotel in Dublin. Now, there is an early bird price if you want to get your ticket, €225 plus VAT. So, October the 6th is the deadline on that, just to let you know.
I would be more inclined to consider an invite.
Yes.
I don't have that kind of cash knocking about.
Yeah. Anyway,
certainly wouldn't be a +1 anyway.
From a Northwest perspective, amongst the nominations, the best restaurant shortlist in the Ulster region, we have Rathmullen House in Donegal and the Old Glen Bar, so 2 of them through. And in best casual dining, Fisk. Also here in Donegal,
and 2 of those,
Umi in Derry has been nominated as well.
Yeah.
And in the best wine experience, Rathmullen House is amongst those in line for honour. So good.
I
good
think we could do well there. The Old Glen Bar is a very unique dining experience.
Absolutely.
And Fisk is incredibly popular. People travel from all over to go to Fisk, which is in Downings. So that's Downings and Carrigart-ish, Glen. In the Offing and Rathmullen House. They're down for 2. Is it wine experience and food? Or are they 2 separate businesses?
They're 2 separate categories, yeah.
Brilliant.
So
well done.
Good to
luck.
see it.
We'll keep an eye on them. Right, what's coming up on this week's podcast available for people to listen to online tomorrow, Chris?
Yes, well, I've been speaking with Donna McDade, who is the Enterprise Engagement Officer with the Donegal Education and Training Board. Now, when you go onto their website, I think it's fair to say a lot of people would just be quite taken aback as to the range of courses that are on offer. Significantly, a large number of them are fully funded, so they're free. And they're very much geared for people who may be already in employment looking for a career change, or maybe you want a new skill, or you want to upskill.
You've raised the kids and want to do something for yourself.
Yeah, change of tack. Maybe you just want to quench that thirst for more knowledge, and some of the courses are online, some of them are at some of their centres, some of them are just for a day, and significantly, some of them are non-accredited courses. So sometimes maybe people just want to dip their toe in the water, they want to get a flavour of something. So there's a great range of courses out there, and also some of them actually take into account your own work and life experience. You could have left school when you were 16, gone into a particular sector, have great knowledge of it, but you don't have the paperwork that says you've got it.
Which could stop promotions potentially, or something along those lines.
So this is something that they've looked at, and that sort of work experience that you have and life experience, that can assist you when you go on to some of the courses that maybe you are looking at. So lots out there, and as I say, Don McDade has been explaining some of the attractive options that you can look at.
We have another lovely programme called Recognition of Prior Learning, which we abbreviate to RPL, and that's about giving people credit for what they do every day, whether that's in management or the business world or administration, childcare or healthcare. Every year we support hundreds of busy working professionals who deserve to have their hard work and experience recognised. So RPL is really helpful for those that are within the workplace as well. Instead of having to start a course from scratch, it gives people to use their experience to earn their qualification. And that could be for career progression or moving on to other learning opportunities, or even just gaining that official stamp or approval for what they're doing so well already.
You mentioned, just as in the intro, the preamble there, Chris, an awful lot going on with the Donegal ETB. Well worth hopping onto the website and seeing. We can try and sort of flag this, that and don, right? But you can't beat sometimes opening up the page and having a look, and the information, for me anyway, often drops better.
Absolutely. And when you look at the range of things, it's actually hard to find something that, you're going to be interested in something there. And as I say, one of the great things is that now the accredited courses, for those who are aware of the scheme, there's different levels, 1 to 6, and there's actually routes into going on and doing degrees as well, and they work closely with the ATU. But from a national perspective, this is all about, and this is one of the reasons why, of course, we have a lot of foreign direct investment as well, that we do have a well-educated and skilled workforce, and the ETB certainly playing its part in that. And just to mention, by way of example, a course that's coming up this Friday in the Letterkenny Training Centre out in Ballyrane. They're doing a presentation skills training course. So it's all about public speaking, how to create a presentation, and getting feedback and analysing it and that sort of thing. Free. It's on at 9:30 in the morning, and that's a good example of something that would have appealed to many, including myself.
Yeah, for sure. You've also been looking at the gender pay gap, Chris.
Yeah, now this is something that I wasn't aware that it was only in 2021 in this country that legislation came in, and bigger companies have to report under the legislation. It started with companies with over 500 people, and then it was 250 and came down. You have to report the gender pay gap in your company.
So for two people doing the same job effectively, yeah?
Exactly, and they work out. So when you look at the statistics, there is a gap between male and female earnings, but one of the reasons why, of course, is the fact that traditionally there are more men in more senior positions which pay better. So it doesn't mean that a company is actually discriminating against the female workforce, but significantly this year, if you are in an organisation or a company with more than 50 employees, now you must make a return with all the figures, which will be the wages and the per hour and everything, and it'll all be compiled. And sometimes you may need to actually get expert consultancy help in to do this, because it's actually, because it'll be new to a lot of companies, as I say, people over 50, companies with more than 50 people. So it's going to bring quite a lot of people into the net.
For sure.
It's another requirement. So if you're in a business, this is something that you may want to get a little bit of advice on. And in the second part of Business Matters this week, I'll be outlining more details of that. I've been speaking with somebody in the sector.
All right, it's a secret. But definitely tune in. And as I say, that's what's coming down the line. So if you're a company or an employee in a company, you might be, or you should be actually, interested in that. So the podcast will go live tomorrow for you to listen to at your leisure on demand. And it's broadcast then on the radio on Sunday, Chris.
That's right, after the 6 o'clock news. And if you want to contact me, you can email me on businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Chat to you next Wednesday.
Our best value bundle has just landed in the Virgin Media Playhouse. Watch your must-see live TV, live sports, catch-up TV, and access all the apps you love to binge. Powered by our super-fast, reliable broadband. Bundled together for just €50 a month. Price locked for 12 months. Guaranteed. For more great offers, see virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 500 meg broadband and streaming TV, €50 a month for 12 months, €104 thereafter. Separate subscription required for streaming apps. T's and C's apply.
From home and car to farm, commercial and public liability, at Hickey Clark and Langan, they've got you covered for insurance. They shop around all the leading insurers to make sure you get a great deal. If you're looking for a competitive quote, it's easier than you think. Call 91-26688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan, the local name you can trust, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Imagine sinking into a perfect comfort every night. At Restex Beds, we believe a better sleep means a better life. Choose from our vast range of quality mattresses and find the one that's perfect for you. Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Hillary's are on a mission to help the nation get window-wise. Get up to 40% off selected styles right now in our super sale, including up to 40% off our super stylish shutters. Plus, there's free thermal lining on our favourite Roman blinds and curtains. And grab an extra 10% off everything from now until the 29th of September. Don't forget, with Hillary's, expert measuring and fitting is always included. Book your free in-home appointment today at hillarys.ie. Conditions apply.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McBoden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So today's going to be bright and dry for the most part, though later this evening we'll see cloudy conditions develop with patchy light rain and drizzle, highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees in light southerly winds. So come the presidential election, you're going to have 3 candidates to choose from. If you wish to vote, they're going to be independent Catherine Connolly, Jim Gavin, who's running for Fianna Fáil, and Heather Humphreys from Fine Gael. Maria Steen, who was too short of the 20 TDs or senators required to get on the ticket, has failed in her attempts to do so. So that's just to keep you up to date with that story that's been developing over the course of this show. Now, Ireland needs to recycle an additional 400,000 tonnes of waste every year to achieve its legally binding recycling targets. This according to a new report from the Environmental Protection Agency, and scientific officer in the EPA's Circular Economy programme is Celine Horner, who joins us now. Good morning, Celine.
Morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining us. Look, it seems between recycling bins and plastic bottles and all that, it feels like we're recycling more than we ever have. Why do we not seem to be making any percentage inroads?
Yeah, we are recycling more by tonnage every year, but the problem is that the amount of recycling can't keep up with the amount of waste we're generating. So we reckon it's about 4 times as fast for waste generation as it is for recycling. And I think, we do have a good waste management system. Householders are doing their job in terms of segregation, and we can always do better at that. But really, I think what the data is showing that it's not at the bin that we're going to make the difference. It's not for businesses and householders at the point of the bin that's going to really change things. If we want to reduce the amount of waste actually generated, we need to kind of go up the supply chain and try and tackle it from where it's produced. So, we always do need more segregation and better segregation, but it's about, businesses at the very placing on the market stage of the process taking action.
Yeah, because I have to deal with so much waste that I don't want to deal with. Order a pair of headphones off an online shop or whatever, and you end up with a box the size of the bin. And there's loads of other examples, even buying locally, clear plastic around things that it's simply not needed. 3 peppers in a plastic bag. I don't want that. I want to be able to bring my egg carton in and pop 6 eggs in it and go up to the till. We want to do better, but we're not being allowed to do so, it seems. We can always do more, right, as consumers, but help us out a bit.
Yeah, it's really more about the other side of things, at the producer level. The economy is doing very well and producing lots of good and valuable products for us, but it's also producing waste. And we need to be able to change how the economy functions so that, we're not producing as much waste. For example, producer compliance schemes where they take responsibility of the waste rather than the householder. Now, in other European countries, there's more producer responsibility schemes where they place the price for placing market or goods on the market is higher, especially if they're designed to be single use rather than designed for a circular reuse pattern. And that kind of flicks the responsibility. It's too easy at the moment to just put stuff on the market. So we need to follow some of our European partners in increasing the cost so that's actually something they think about, the end of life of their products. Similarly, we've seen things like bans can also help. Single-use plastics, that directive banned a lot of, very wasteful one-off plastics. And then I suppose more financial incentives really. We saw how behaviour changed when there was an incentive for people to use reusable shopping bags. We need on a larger scale, even at the scale of, say, construction sector, incentives to use things like, high quality recycled aggregate from construction waste instead of using gravel extracted from quarries. The construction sector is one of the biggest waste producers. So there's a lot more that can be done to use secondary materials like the high quality aggregates.
Yeah.
And
so
to,
the line's failing a little bit, Celine, but I have one more question, right? So we're using a separate bin for our plastics. We're gathering up our bottles in bags. We're doing everything we can. Is there a figure as to how much of the recycling waste collected is actually recycled?
Yeah, we calculate that. So, the thing is to make sure it goes into the right bin first off, and then.
Yeah, but let's presume we're doing that. Let's presume we're doing that as consumers.
So the recycling percentage that we're achieving at the moment is 42%, and we're required to remove any losses from the system that don't make it to the actual recycling plants, which are all abroad.
That's 42. That's 42% of all waste, though, or is that specifically recyclable waste?
That's our total municipal waste is 3.2 million, and we're recycling 42% of that. So, but we need to get to 55%. Which is a huge ask, and in order to actually reduce the amount of waste generated, if we maintain the current recycling levels, we have a better chance of achieving that.
Okay, I must go, Celine, because the line is failing on us. Thank you, though, for your time. It's not your fault, of course. Selena Horner there, Scientific Officer at the EPA's Circular Economy Programme. Right, let's get to some of the hundreds of comments I have here before me. So it looks like the three establishment candidates are going to have a clear run in the race to see who gets to live in a big house in Phoenix Park. Shameful that Maria Steen won't stand. She was being blocked by Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael media shenanigans and promises of funding for independents' pet projects in return for abstaining from nominating Steen. Personally, I blame Trump and climate change. Okay. Women's health stories provide headlines and column inches. Men's don't. That's why there's not the same noise about it. Hi, Greg. Regarding Shannon, isn't it about time that this institution came into the realm of true democracy and stop all this posturing by treating it the same as the Dáil? In other words, we the people elect its members every 4 years as we do the Dáil. This would put an end to some seats being used as political backhanders for parties to reward new or retiring politicians that they appoint. It can also be a little bit of a holding space for de-elected or deselected politicians. Interesting listening to Peter Casey. He has contradicted himself. He has contradicted himself now a number of times. I switched off from him after talking about hiring a helicopter, another candidate not living in the real world. There is a family living in that house in the Old Town that has the hedge that the public are complaining about. Why should it be up to the family to sort this hedge out when it's a council issue? It's not fair to complain about this hedge when it involves a family. There's a footpath on the other side of the road, but it's inaccessible as it has gates around it. No one's blaming anyone. Someone's just pointing out the fact that they can't get around in their wheelchair. Not everything's about blame or attributing blame. Whatever it takes, we should probably be doing so to make it safe for people. A caller says, my daughter's creche has texts looking for parents to send in food for morning and afternoon snacks as they are only going to provide breakfast from 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. and a dinner at lunchtime. Is this normal when you're paying for a creche or other creches looking for parents to send in food also? This is for an after-school term and non-term times. I'll have to chuck that one out. I don't know. On health, please get your check with your doctor every 6 months. It's so important. That comes in from John. Thanks, John. Another, why did nobody not think on Noel Cunningham to contest the presidential election? He would have been the person because he wouldn't be bothered with any of the three standing. Cost, Greg, this is about looking after our health. Cost, Greg, we don't go because it costs $150 for bloods and a cert, or we lose pay like previously. Seriously, men would go more if it wasn't so prohibitively expensive. Well, if that's part of the problem, let's look at that then. But another caller says, the problem with men's health is that people don't really care about it. Check out the amount of money spent on women's health versus men's, cancer, etc. by government. The difference is scandalous. Well, listen, Noel, I would disagree. Women are disproportionately affected by issues in health. We have to take some blame here. There's lots of stuff there. You can go and get your bloods done. You can go and get your bum checked. You can go and get your heart checked, get your blood pressure checked. No, we can't blame everything. We as men also have to say, right, we need to do better as well. I hope that's not controversial. Greg, there's a GEA club in every little town in the country. Why not do pop-up clinics in conjunction with the HSE? Not a bad idea. Under the Constitution, the parents are the primary educators of our children, not the state. Teaching children about homosexuality and others shouldn't be taught in schools till a later age group, late teens. Children are like sponges. They're taking everything that they're taught right or wrong by our educators. Many parents are opting to educate their own children at home with help and support provided. But this is not it's not a statement, it's a question. Like 13 and 14-year-olds, seriously, do we really think there's many of them don't know what homosexuality is or bisexuality is? I mean, we're like maybe 30 years on from when they wouldn't have known. It's 2025. It's absolutely everywhere. It's in music. If they're listening to Spotify, one of the biggest artists at the moment is a lesbian. Some of the songs they're singing are about dancing in gay bars. Do you even know that? And some of these artists are massive amongst 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. They know the sexuality of the singer and what they're singing about. I would suggest, I don't know, but have a look at the cultural, have a look at the artists that they're listening to and the programs that they're watching. And are we saying 13 and 14-year-olds don't know, that they're one of the biggest artists in the world's a lesbian? And that they would learn about this for the first time in 5th or 6th class? Again, I'm just proposing that. We have to be realistic, don't we? Greg, absolutely. People are so politically correct nowadays that they're afraid to be uncomfortable and speak about anything. Children need to be protected at all costs, and that includes innocence. And that's where parents come in. And if you have an issue, go to your principal. What is going to be taught? How is it going to be taught? What is the language that's going to be used? And if you don't want your child exposed to that, then, find out how the school will accommodate your child while those classes are being taught, is what I would suggest. Knowledge often is power, and kids need to be able to protect themselves as well. But anyway, listen, we'll discuss that further.